Nicholas, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
I got the right one.
I muted you.
We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your patience.
All right, we are ready to go. And with that, we'll start again with introductions. I will start. I want to first welcome everybody to the Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry, Inland Fisheries and Wildlife meeting. And I'm Jim Dill. And we have had some technical difficulties this morning, and we're just starting. So we'll start with introductions, and I'll start with Representative Alley.
Yes, sir. Mr. Dill, Senator Dill, this is Robert Alley from Down East Maine. I have 12 communities: Jonesport, Beals, Addison, Columbia Falls, Centerville, Cherryfield, Millbridge, Jonesboro, Whitneyville, and Marshfield. And I'm in District 138. Thank you.
Representative Mason.
Thank you, Senator Dill. I'm Rick Mason. I represent District 56, the great people of Lisbon.
Representative John Martin.
Good morning, Senator John Martin, House District 151, starting in Allagash, go down 161 to Fort Kent and come down Route 11 all the way through to Oxbow.
Representative Neto.
Good morning, everyone. Kathy Netto, representing District 78, which is Winslow and a small portion of Benton. Thank you.
Senator Curry.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Chip Curry, and I represent the 26 rural, coastal, and island communities of Waldo County.
Representative Lyford.
Thanks, Senator Dill. Peter Lyford, District 129, which is Clifton, Eddington, Holden, Northborough, and Vesey.
Representative Terrio.
Thank you, Senator. Good morning. I'm Representative Tim Terrio. I represent District 79, which is Albion, most of Benton, China, and Unity Plantation.
Representative Ordway.
Good morning, Senator. I am Lester Ordway. I represent the good people in Standish in District 23.
Representative Hepler.
Good morning. I'm Allison Hepler. I represent House District 53, which includes the towns of Arousek, Georgetown, Phippsburg, Woolwich, where I live, Dresden, and a small part of Richmond.
Representative Danny Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning. My name is Danny Martin. I represent House 150, located in northern Aroostook County.
And as I mentioned, I'm Jim Dill. I represent Senate District number 5, which is northern Penobscot County. And we have a lot to do today. Unfortunately, starting out with a glitch doesn't help us, but we'll get right into it. We have 4 public hearings and then a work session and electronic, as you can see. And this is the first time we really had any problems, but make sure you unmute yourself. If you're going to testify, you will have 3 minutes to testify when we get to you. And with that, I'm going to start right in to save some time. So I'm going to open up the public hearing on LD 544, an act to eliminate moose permits for hunting lodges, presented by Representative Andrews. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Senator Dill, Representative Landry, and esteemed members of the committee. My name is John Andrews, and I represent District 73 in Western Maine. I'm here this morning to present my bill, LD 544, an act to eliminate moose permits for hunting lodges. I was approached by my constituent, Dave Kelso, to submit this bill on his behalf. Dave is a local business owner in Paris and a very experienced outdoorsman. Dave has spent hundreds of hours in the woods perfecting his skills.
No, there's no public hearing for marine resources today, and I don't see anything.
If the committee doesn't mind, I'd like to yield my time to him to explain the background of the bill and to answer any questions that the committee might have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there any quick questions for Representative Andrews? Seeing none, we'll move right along. Next on my list, I don't know if Representative Kinney is here. Whoops, that's the next one. Sorry. I'll get my mind. It's now Colonel Scott. Are you in the waiting room, Colonel Scott?
I will bring him in, Senator, one moment.
Okay, and then please bring in after him, Mr. Kelso.
Okay. And there are a lot of people, so I'm sorry it is taking me a little bit longer to find people.
Yep, no problem. Yeah, the list is a little bit longer today than we had. Plus, we got 4 public hearings. So.
There's Scott. Okay. And they are both on their way in, Senator.
All right, Colonel Scott, welcome. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. Good morning, Senator Dill, Representative Landry. I believe our testimony is going to be provided by Bill Swan on this morning. Apologize.
Okay. That's no problem. I didn't have Bill on my list of speaking, so we'll let him in. If you do that, please, Linda.
I am on it, yes.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me?
We can.
Very good. Well, so far so good then, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning, Senator Dill, other members of Fish and Wildlife Committee. I'm Bill Swan, Director of Licensing and Registration at the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. Speaking on behalf of the department, neither for nor against LD 544. This bill repeals the provision of law that granted moose permits to hunting lodges through a separate chance lottery. Currently, 2% of moose permits each year are allocated to hunting outfitters. A hunting outfitter is defined in law to be a person who operates a sporting camp as defined under Title 22, Section 2491, subsection 11, and who provides package deals that include food, lodging, and the services of a licensed hunting guide. The definition of a sporting camp in law is a building or group of buildings devoted primarily to the offering of primitive lodging for a fee to persons who want primitive recreation, snowmobiling, hunting, fishing, and similar camps. The department currently accepts applications from sporting camps in the month of December and runs the special lottery to allocate the permits in early January. Winners of the permits are notified by mail in mid-January each year. This timing allows winners of the moose permits sufficient time to market them to interested customers. The winner of each permit is required to pay the department $1,500 for the permit, with all the money allocated to the Moose Research Fund, and thus provide significant funding for some of the moose research that IFW conducts. The sporting camp is then allowed to sell the permit to an eligible hunter. The sale must be for a package deal that includes food, lodging, and the services of a licensed hunting guide. Typically, around 85% of the sporting camp applicants win a permit. The number of permits allocated has been 50, 57, and 62 respectively in the 3 years since this law was put in place. So 2019, 2020, 2021. Okay. The department recognizes that these moose permits, which are allocated to hunting outfitters, provide a significant economic boost to those businesses, the surrounding rural areas, and to those individual hunting guides who are hired to provide guide services for these hunts. The administration of this special lottery does place a significant additional administrative burden on the department, but we've managed to get most of the wrinkles ironed out of the process so we can continue to handle this special lottery as it is currently defined in law. As background, IFW was neither for nor against the original bill back in 2014, and then again in 2017, the bill was modified, and the department was opposed to that modification in 2017. It was passed by the committee and the legislature. Governor LePage vetoed the bill, and the legislature overrode that veto, and it became law as it currently is in place. One last consideration, if you decide to move forward with this bill, is to take a close look at the current law. The department believes that additional changes would be required in current law to cleanly repeal the bill allocating moose permits to hunting outfitters. Be glad to answer any questions at this time or during work session.
Thank you. Are there questions? Representative Danny Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Bill, you just mentioned that this legislation is fairly new, 3 or 4 years old.
That is correct. We've had 3 years of allocating moose permits to hunting lodges, including the year that we're currently in. So this fall will be the 3rd year of hunts.
Correct. Funding level, do we have any idea how much is generated by the department for this legislation?
Well, basically it would be 1,500 times the number of permits allocated. Okay, so this year it's 62, so 62 times 1,500, 70 or 80,000. I guess that would turn out to be, I could do the calculation, but it's significant to the Moose Research Fund. It is.
93,000.
Right. Thank you, Bill.
Yep.
Are there other questions? You said that 62 permits are to be given out this year. How many total lodges are eligible?
Total lodges eligible, I could get that number, but is in neighborhood of around 120. But we're not getting applications from 120. We're getting applications from significantly less than that, although the number of applicants is growing slowly. And it just the way it's worked out as far as number of permits, the number of permits has grown slowly as well, but that could change at any point, because it's 2% of the permits.
Right. Representative Hepler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Swan, and I guess maybe I can figure out how to do the math, but if these were not given out to the lodges, how does that compare, and instead just put into the regular moose lottery? Do you have a sense of what the comparison cost-wise or income-wise would be, revenue-wise would be?
Yeah, I can give you some thoughts on that. Prior to this legislation, 10% of the moose permits were allocated to non-residents. So when this legislation went in place, that 10% was dropped to 8%, and 2% were allocated to the lodges. So prior to this 2%, so roughly, 50, 60 permits a year would have gone to non-residents. The non-resident permit fee is $585. But the thing of it is that I believe $100 of that is allocated to the Moose Research Fund, and the other $485 is allocated to IFW General Fund. So there's a little bit of a mix and match of funding sources, but this definitely puts more money into the Moose Research Fund. The hunting lodge permits put more into the Moose Research Fund.
Great, thank you.
Representative Ordway.
Yeah, Mr. Swan, do you have any, thank you, Senator. Do you have the price again for a non-resident permit? And about approximately how many non-residents apply for that permit?
Yes, the price for a non-resident permit is $585. And I think I would want to bring back the number of non-resident applicants back to work session, but it's definitely, thousands and thousands of non-residents. It's not just a few hundred. It's significant, but we'll bring that back to work session.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that. So we charge them a lot and they still come. Thank you.
Senator Curry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question, I just want to be clear on what I think I just heard is that this allocation, this 2% was a direct reduction of the out-of-state allocation. And so no Maine moose hunters have reduced odds because of getting a permit because of the law, this program. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Can you speak at all to, like, is there a different harvest rate on for the 2%? Are they more successful because they're working with a guide and a lodge?
We have not analyzed that, but we could do that. What I would say, and I don't know if Nate Webb is on or not, but roughly our success rate on the moose hunt has not changed significantly in the last, well, it'd be basically 2 years. It would be 2019 and 2020. But we could analyze the success rate of the hunting lodge permit holders if the committee wanted us to do that.
Thank you very much. More out of curiosity, if you had the number, you don't need to go back and do work. Can you give me a rough idea of what the success rate is in general?
I believe isn't it about 70%, Judy? Yes, 70%.
Great. Thank you very much.
Are there other questions? All right, seeing none. Thank you for your testimony. Next is David Kelso. Then he will be followed by Matt Libby, Randy Flannery, and Sharon Flannery.
Good morning, Senator Representative Landry, and other distinguished members of the committee. My name is Dave Kelso. I'm here to John Andrews. When the bill to give out permits to Title 22 licensed lodges was first being considered, I was approached by one of the lobbyists and asked to come out in favor of this. And after reading the bill and talking to everyone that was involved, I just said, no, it's not fair. If you're going to allow one guide to apply, you should allow them all to apply. And it has been.
It appears, oops. Mr. Kelso, are you there? Mr. Kelso, are you there? All right, I am going to move on and we will come back to you. So next up, he's back. Mr. Kelso, can you hear me?
Okay, cut out here.
You're
Yes.
cutting in and out before you start. You're cutting in and out anyway.
Okay.
We're having trouble. At least I'm having trouble.
All right, I'm not seeing why. Is it okay now?
Right now, it seems to be okay.
Okay. What you get now with these licensed lodges that are given the permits is they're allowed to make some pretty hefty profits off of it just because they actually own something. And it just doesn't make any sense to me. It never did from the beginning. I've made lots of friends since I've moved down here to South Paris. One of them is the Title 22 establishment. He was approached by a guide from northern Maine that said, apply for the permit. If you win, then
you're fading in and out again.
Able to hire that guide to facilitate the sale of the permit and that would work, and then they could work something out with the money. But when I went on to explain to them that these permits are being sold for $9,000 to $20,000, you kind of thought $2,000 was a little light. And I get that. There are countless stories of this happening. There are more loopholes in the current system. Last year, 2 establishments got tags. Both were Title 22 inspected, but only as rentals. I don't know how they got around the meal part. One I know, I don't even think was Title 22 inspected. I used to manage that lodge. I don't see how they could get it through the system. You got lodges now that are getting permits and zones. They can't conceivably hunt from their lodges. Just this year, there's 2, I believe they're both in zone 7. I know one for sure is, the other one might be in zone 8. They can't guide out of their lodges, so they're doing tent hunts. Great and good for them, but how is there a Title 22 endorsement for tent hunt? Colorado has an endorsement for tent hunts. We don't in Maine. Now, I got 4 friends that run tent camps in the North Maine woods during moose season, and they can't apply for these permits. I'd like to have somebody explain to me why. No, one argument I hear from the lodge owners that benefit from these permits is, I need the money to keep my lodge operating. This is a lottery. If you don't get a permit one year, you're closing the doors. I don't think so. So if you got to rely on this lottery to keep your business going, I'd suggest going to Vegas. It would be a little bit easier. Well, those that also benefit from the influx of money, there are those other guides that are not able to benefit from this. Now, I realize this is a money grab for IFW, and I get that. Money goes back into moose research projects. But
can you finish up in a couple sentences?
There's other ways to make that money up. What's that?
I said, could you finish up in a couple sentences? You're over your 3 minutes.
Yeah, okay. I hope that you either, make some changes or you end this as it is now. I want to thank you all for your time. Have a good day. Thanks.
Thank you. Questions, Mr. Kelso? I do have a quick one for you. If you could make one change to the bill, what would it be, the law now?
To make one change, allow all guides to get in on this.
All guides get on this. Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions from committee members? Nope, seeing none. Thank you for your testimony. All right, so next is Matt Libby.
Actually, Senator, the list that I have has Guy Randlett, Wade Kelly, and Don Kleiner as next, and I just sent you the most recent updated list.
All right, go ahead and let those 3 in. And
they are already in, so Guy Randlett would be next.
Guy Randlett, go ahead. Introduce yourself, please.
You need to unmute Mr. Randlett.
How's that?
Yes, we can hear you now.
I'm sorry, forgive me, please. Senator Dill, members of the Committee on Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. My name is Guy Randlett. I live in Southport, Maine. And I've been an active registered Maine hunting guide for over 25 years, concentrating my efforts on learning as much as I can about the lives and habits of our great moose. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to my testimony against 544, and I hope you'll give strong consideration to what I have to say. Let me repeat, I'm against the passage of 544, even though I've somehow, probably by my mistake, been categorized as neither for nor against. Anyways, I'll go on. I do not, nor ever have owned any sort of hunting lodge. I have worked out of several different hunting lodges for the span of my moose hunting career. When this proposal to offer moose hunting permits to qualified sporting camps was initiated 4 or 5 years ago, I testified in favor of it. If you refer back to the talking points made by proponents of lodge moose tags back in those years, you will see that this program has lived up to everything and more than anticipated. And there's 5 points I'd like to make following that. Number one, it's greatly increased revenue generated by these moose tags for IFW. Number two, it's increased revenue for qualified sporting camps with which to make capital improvements on their facilities, thus making for a much better overall experience for the non-resident hunters that purchase the requisite permit and guided hunt and American plan logic. It has no effect on it has no effect on the number of tags rewarded to Maine residents. We've heard that already from Mr. Swan. 4, guides that do own a qualifying lodge certainly benefit, but many unaffiliated and independent guides are employed as well through this program, not to mention cooks, general camp help, butchers, and in some cases, videographers that are hired for the hunt. And 5, the best guides get hired, which greatly enhances the experience for the hunter. I sense that some guides, unfortunately, with mediocre reputations are amongst those that do not like this program. I personally have worked on one such a hunt where there was a lodge tag. I had never previously worked for this lodge. I was hired by my reputation. The client was an 83-year-old woman from the Midwest who had dreamed about bagging a trophy Maine bull moose. Short of the existing lodge permit program, she likely would not have had the opportunity. I was the head guide for her hunt. 2 other unaffiliated to that camp, sporting camp, 2 other unaffiliated guides were hired by the lodge to work with me, and a videographer was hired to film all aspects of her hunt from arrival to departure. All 4 of us were well paid. It was a very enjoyable week for all involved that culminated in the huntress bagging a beautiful 9.5-year-old bull, mile in the woods on foot. The bull had, it was a big bull, 22 points, 56-inch spread. It was great. Everyone was delighted. The camp we all stayed at that was fortunate enough to receive the special hunting lodge permit had been making obvious improvements in the months prior to this hunt. A new backup generator and an extensively updated cabin interior with new sills stick out in my mind. A local contractor was hired to do this. Similar capital improvements to sporting camps is one of the great goals of this program. Many qualifying sporting lodges can benefit accordingly, thus guaranteeing a much better overall experience for their customers, not just moose hunters, but other hunters, fishermen and fisherwomen, birders, artists, nature lovers, a lot of people. I ask that you please vote against LD 544. The only change I could suggest would be to keep it as it is, but to add more tags, make them available for qualifying sporting camps. Please, again, consider my words, and if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Are there any questions? All right, seeing none, I will move on to Don Kleiner followed by Matt Libby, Randy Flannery, and Sharon Flannery.
Actually, Senator Wade Libby would be next with Don Kleiner after that, and David Trahan.
I guess the list I have, Linda, is not the same list that you have. So
Right.
I will let you go with the list.
Okay, thank you. We can talk about it later. So next would be Wade Kelly, which I have brought in. Mr. Kelly, are you available?
All right, we will move on to Don Kleiner. Please introduce yourself, sir. We'll come back to Mr. Kelly.
Thank you, Senator Dill. Good morning, Senator Dill. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, this is Wade Kelly.
Okay.
I just figured this thing out. If I might be allowed to continue in my place?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you very much, and sorry for that. I'm not that computer guy. But yes, good morning, Senator Dill and members of the committee. My name is Wade Kelly, and I'm here to oppose LD 544. I find it hard to believe that I would need to be here today to defend a state-approved program that has met and exceeded all of its intended goals. From providing a much welcome influx of monies to rural communities through lodge owners lucky enough to draw a tag, providing incentive to lodge owners to upgrade their facilities to meet state requirements to qualify for the drawing, bringing Maine moose up to its rightful place of value among our country's big game species, bringing our state in line with other states and Canadian provinces that provide lodge tags for big game and recognize them for the economic drivers that they are, to a direct benefit to IFW by providing a substantial cash flow to the department, which in turn benefits all Maine outdoor enthusiasts, hunting and non-hunting alike, by putting much needed study monies into the hands of our state's world-class biologists. As to tags coming from out-of-state allotments, non-resident tags are issued solely for the economic value provided to the state. The lodge tag program has taken just 2% of those tags and tripled the value without any adverse effect to resident moose tag allocations. And finally, as to the guide lodge tags, take nothing away from non-lodge owning guides, as they will be hired by lodges or by the people in the general lottery. In closing, I'm 30 plus years deep in promoting Maine's outdoors through my camps here in Allagash. I would ask the committee to continue to help me help Maine by opposing LD 544. Thank you, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Kelly? All right, seeing none, I believe, Mr. Kleiner, you will be up, and then it will be followed by the Matt Libby, Randy Flannery, and Sharon Flannery.
Actually, I have David Trahan.
He will come in at.
Okay. Thank you, Senator Dill. Representative.
I do not have Dave Trahan on my list, so we'll get to him eventually.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Kleiner.
Thank you, Senator Dill. Distinguished members of the committee, I'm Don Kleiner, representing the Maine Professional Guides Association. Just a little background here. I won't go through written testimony, which you already have. Basically, the association opposed this initially. We took a neutral stance last go round, and frankly, this time we would urge you to defeat this bill. To your credit, your vision of how this would work and the benefit it would deliver has been met. And further to your credit, I think it's been more effective and better targeted than much of the economic relief that we've seen attempted at our industry in the last year. Keep in mind, many of us were closed for at least a portion of last year, and for many, the most important portion of the year, which would have been spring fishing. So the impact has been significant, which brings me to the point that even if you make any change, this is not the time. Everything is precarious now as we move forward. There are issues. I've heard them. I'm sure you have. This is not without its warts, but it is effectively delivering and meeting the goals that you set for the program. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Are there any questions for Mr. Kleiner? Now, I guess Linda's list has David Trahan next. Mr. Trahan, are you unmuted yet?
Yep,
There you are.
Yep. The Honorable Senator Dill, Representative Landry, members of the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Committee. My name is David Trahan. I am the Executive Director of the SAM Institute for Legislative Action, testifying neither for nor against LD 544. Just a few short years ago, the Sportsmen's Alliance of Maine partnered with the Maine State Museum on a project to capture the history of hunting camps in Maine. The reason we participated in this important project was to ensure this important historical community was not lost. Traditional hunting camps are fast becoming an endangered species, commercial hunting camps included. When this new opportunity to allot moose permits for hunting lodges became law, it was hoped that the new revenue stream would aid camps reeling from the loss of a healthy white-tailed deer population in most of northern, eastern, and western Maine. Nothing has changed since that time to warrant repeal of this new program. And I repeat, for those that are confused on our position, nothing has changed since that time to warrant repeal of this new program. But like some that will testify, we have heard concerns about the program. Like all programs of state government, this policy should be periodically reviewed to ensure that it meets legislative intent and whether it's fulfilling the intended purposes. We hope the committee will take a close look at the law and, if needed, make any changes necessary to ensure it is helping as many lodges as possible. We are in the year of the pandemic, and the economic fallout is at its worst. Pulling the plug on this program could severely harm lodges that are struggling to survive. We hope the committee can offer improvements if they are warranted, and more importantly, not lose sight of the fact that the moose is a precious natural resource under the protection and management of all the people of the state. Whatever we do when managing a natural resource, it should reflect the values of Maine people. Simply put, we should be proud to defend all wildlife management programs of this department. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Next is Matt Libby. Do we have, yep, I see him down there.
Yes, you hear me all right?
Yep.
All right. Good morning, Senator Dill, members of IFW committee. My name is Matt Libby. I'm online from Township 8, Range 9. Glad not to have to travel to Augusta, but would rather be face to face with you all. I own Libby Outpost in the North Maine Woods and am a current guide in Maine, Labrador, and Alaska. My written testimony for the Maine Sporting Camp Association has been filed and should be in front of you. My own testimony is below. My family's sporting camp business has weathered 2 pandemics, 2 world wars, and a depression in our 130 years in business. We started hunts in 1890 for caribou and moose, but those hunts soon closed. But deer moved in, giving us a huge boost for our guided hunts. In 1977, my wife Ellen and I financed our purchase of Libby camps, using none other than deer hunting revenues. Now, like all lodges in northern Maine, those monies, like the deer, are gone. Many of the lodges struggle to stay afloat, and more have closed their doors or sold out. The 62 tags allotted to Maine sporting camps have been a great shot in the arm for these rural northern Maine businesses. These tags have attracted world-class hunters to Maine, and many have already returned with their families. Most of the men guiding these trips are full-time guides who make their primary living by guiding. By the way, I guide in Alaska and Labrador, where most big game hunts by non-residents require outfitters and guides to hunt. I thank you for opposing this bill. Rural Maine needs all the help we can get. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Libby? Seeing none, I'll move on. Sharon Flannery has a phone, which must be Randy. So I see both names, Sharon. So Randy, I guess that would be you next.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys all listening to me. It's very much appreciated. My wife Sharon and I own and operate Wilderness Escape Outfitters on the Washington Aroostook line outside of Danforth. We built our business ourselves within the letter of the law in hopes of one day handing it down to our children. You can check with any warden on our reputation. We've worked very hard to build that business and run it within the letter of the law. And I believe that what happened is as our deer herd started to decline, I decided that I was going to start teaching people how to go after their deer with tracking and stalking skills like my grandfather had taught me. Our success rate went up and the word got out and Field and Stream started calling, and they did their first article on us in the early 2000s. And they've written at least one article a year on us since. I then got hired by Field and Stream and Outdoor Life to do seminars at all their sportsman shows. I'm currently talking to you folks from a hotel in Kansas City where I was just doing seminars at a sportsman show. I'm going to Indiana and then Wisconsin from here. My wife and I spend from early January to early May each year traveling from sportsman show to sportsman show, doing seminars on tracking and stalking whitetails. I did that, like I said, because of the decline of the deer numbers and the decline of the deer hunters coming to Maine. It's very important to understand that people just do not want to come to Maine anymore to hunt deer. And nobody knows that better than my wife and I, because we do seminars all across the country on deer hunting. I believe if I didn't do seminars on deer hunting, and we didn't get so much magazine exposure, and I also do seminars for the NRA at their Harrisburg show and other speaking engagements. If we didn't do seminars on deer hunting, we probably wouldn't have any deer hunters either. I think the lodge tags are supplementing the lodges with the money they're losing from the deer hunt. And I think that's very important. Another thing I want to bring up, gentlemen and ladies, which is, I believe is almost completely overlooked, is the lodges in Maine, your outfitters, your DHHS certified outfitters in Maine are the greatest ambassadors the state of Maine has. My wife and I probably do more sportsman shows than any outfitter in the state of Maine. And there are lodges from Maine, hardworking lodge owners that go and travel from state to state in the wintertime and early spring, going to sportsman shows, spending their hard-earned money to represent Maine, and they're trying to get people to come to Maine to spend their money. There are has. And like I said, we probably do more sportsman shows than anybody. I never see any guide services or small operations.
Can you
It's
finish up
always
in a-
the outfitters.
Mr. Flannery, can you finish up in a couple of sentences? You're over your 3 minutes. please.
Absolutely, absolutely. The guide, the moose tags provide outfitters with income, which is passed on to their guides. We have 15 guides that work for us, kitchen staff, maintenance staff, in the community. That money gets spread out into the community. It's nothing but a complete benefit for Maine, and it's a great example of how Maine and the outfitters of Maine can work together for the better of everybody.
Thank you.
I thank you, gentlemen and ladies.
Hold
very
on, we
much.
got some questions for you, I think. Representative Lightfoot.
Thank you, Senator Dill. Thank you for your testimony. You spoke mostly about deer. So do you do any moose guiding at all? And if so, how many did you do last year?
Yes, sir. We do bear, deer, moose, and moose hunting is a big part of our business. But I spoke mostly about deers because I wanted people to understand that with the decline of the deer herd and the decline of the deer hunters coming to Maine, I used to guide for a lodge out of Patton in the 80s and early 90s. They took 40 deer hunters a week for 4 weeks. They're lucky if they get a half a dozen to a dozen deer hunters a week now. So that money is all gone. They like Mr. Libby said so well, that he was able to run a big part of his business by his deer hunting clientele, which is no longer. And this moose tag is supplementing that in a great way to help these lodges who are fighting because of the loss of deer hunting and the loss of deer hunters. They're fighting to stay in business every year because they've lost that income.
Did you get any moose permits? Were you awarded any moose permits last year?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And how many?
We got one lodge tag, and we had a few other hunters who drew in the lottery.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Flannery? All right, seeing none, I'll turn over to Sharon Flannery, followed by Christopher Richards, Brenda White, and Steve Wood.
Hi, thank you all for being here and listening to us. I'm coming at this at a little bit of a different aspect. I've heard a lot about this pitting the haves and have-nots against each other, mainly us outfitters against the guides. And I just wanted to give you a little bit of our background just to show that everybody has the same opportunity that we outfitters do. I'm just going to read this because I'm not good at this stuff, but my husband and I, before we bought our land in northern Maine, we lived in a 2-bedroom trailer on a small piece of land. My husband guided and was a guide for hire for other outfitters at the time. And we decided to, go and open up our own business. Before we bought our land, we stepped out in faith, sold our trailer and land, and with the little money that we made in the sale, we invested in our land in Maine. We were turned down by 4 different banks before finding one that gave us a loan to build. Because of the cost of labor, we built our place ourselves. My husband Randy and I, our 13-year-old son and our 9-year-old daughter worked every single day building that lodge with our own hands. We lived in a small little camper on our property with no running water for 2 years. We bathed in the lake and we cooked on a gas grill to build our lodge. We had very, very little when we began. We started this place from scratch with our blood, sweat, and tears. We struggled for the first 15 years of our business, but with a lot of sacrifice, we made it work. This is why I don't believe that we're pitting the haves and have-nots against each other. Because again, I believe everyone has the same opportunity we did if they're willing to work hard, build their business, and do things by the book. We outfitters have our whole lives and every penny we own invested in our businesses. And we believe we deserve to be considered differently than the everyday guide that is working out of a tent or a pickup. We have the extra and overwhelming expenses of running our businesses. We hire guides. We ourselves, with our moose tags that we are allotted, we have 2 guides for our hunter in that case. So where the moose tag permits that we receive is also giving an extra guide to our moose hunters. We pay taxes and insurance, and we get inspected and are regulated. So we are a good representation for Maine. We go to sporting lodges. I mean, we obviously go to the different shows every year. We have people come and tell us, you know, in the past that they've been to a lodge and it was filthy and there was dog hair on the floor and things like that. And the thing is, I've always said that people will come to Maine and have a bad experience once. They may come back a second time, but if they come back and go to 2 different lodges that they have the same bad experience, they're not coming back to Maine. So I truly believe in the licensing. I truly believe in being regulated and being inspected, even though it's an additional cost.
Can you finish up in a couple sentences, please?
Yeah, the Lodge Moose permit is helping us grow our business so we can bring more clients and more revenue into the state. And I understand that the bill may have some problems, but we can work those out.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Next is Christopher Richards.
Senator Dill, distinguished members, thank you very much for the floor. I want to thank you for the opportunity to share my concerns and deep opposition to LD 544 and act to eliminate the Maine Moose Lodge Tag program. My name is Chris Richards. I'm a registered Maine guide. We're in that certification after being encouraged to pursue that goal by my mentors and academic advisors while I was a college student at the University of Maine. In my opinion, the Lodge Tag program has created what I believe is an essential opportunity for lodges to have the ability to ensure clientele while also providing the opportunity and need to hire folks such as myself who have a passion for moose guiding, but are limited in our ability to market and promote those services, while also ensuring lodges are able to promote truly world-class experiences in the Maine woods. I'm very troubled at some of the comments I've heard related to this Lodge Tag program, and that we are somehow commercializing our moose hunt and a driving narrative that somehow our lodges are morally out of bounds when it comes to respect to the Maine moose. I don't believe this is the case at all. As guides, outfitters, lodges, or anyone who provides services related to any type of recreation, I'm sure we can all agree. We don't sell moose, we don't sell loons, we don't sell deer, we don't sell the Dead River, and we don't sell Mount Katahdin. We sell the opportunity for people to make memories, experience something never before experienced, and more often than not, provide our clientele the opportunity to find themselves and who they truly are while on the trail in the great woods of Maine. I especially can't understand why any hunters would be against this program. Whether you consider yourself a backcountry hunter such as myself, or you're a hunter looking for a formal lodge experience with lobster dinners every night, this program is good for Maine. The Lodge Tag program has not commercialized or devalued the moose hunt in any way. It's enhanced an already strong image and reputation. Maine's historic hunting lodges, from Rangeley Lakes region to Aroostook County to Moosehead Lake and beyond, are uniquely positioned to provide a special service and experience, usually with 100 years of history and heritage baked into the walls of their buildings, where stories and memories have been made and shared for generations and generations to come. I am proud to be a small part of that heritage. This program helps to solidify the presence of these lodges economically as a core cultural component of who we are as the state of Maine. With such a small number of permits dedicated to this program, Maine already has a return on investment that surely exceeded most people's expectations. I strongly urge this committee to dismiss this bill, as its implementation, in my opinion, would be a step backward in the face of so much great work that our sporting lodges have done to promote Maine and to bring what I believe is a genuinely historic level of appreciation, love, and respect to our Maine monarch, the mighty moose. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Are there any questions? All right, seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Next is Brenda White. Brenda, can you unmute yourself, please?
Yes, hi, sorry about that. It looks like my video is not working.
Your video is not working.
Okay, sorry about that. Good morning. I want to apologize in advance, but I have a cold. I'm sorry if I start coughing or sniffling. First, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to give my testimony today. I'm asking you to oppose LD 544. I have a sporting lodge in northern Maine, and I am a registered Maine hunting guide. For the past 10 years, I've had a booth at sportsman shows in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Massachusetts. Two of the most popular questions from show attendees are, how do I get a coveted moose permit in Maine? And how long will it take for me to get one in the lottery? Of course, we know these are the million-dollar questions. When legislators approved the moose permits for hunting lodges, the program offered another opportunity for a sport to secure a guaranteed permit for Maine's heavily sought-out moose hunt. Our state has an excellent reputation for enjoying the great outdoors, which includes hunting, particularly bear and moose. To be licensed as a sporting lodge, a lodge must meet high standards. These standards bring lodges to code in order to offer first-class accommodations. These standards should continue so this program continues to be exceptional and to help keep our state's excellent reputation in place. If someone wants to be included in this program, the person should open a lodge or remodel a lodge like I did. In order to bring my lodge to licensing requirement, I had to remodel my lodge, which cost me more than $15,000. This money was spent in northern Maine and helped the economy during a critical time. This program should serve as an incentive for someone to bring their camp up to licensing requirement and to invest in our communities. My lodge is in northern Maine and I live in central Maine. Like I said, I'm a registered Maine guide, but I employ people from the county, including a Maine guide, to help me offer a quality hunt. Not only does the program help me financially, but it also employs folks in the county and helps the economy in the county. Additionally, like what's been said before, the program increases the amount of money the state receives for the moose research program. The fee for the moose permit for lodges is $1,500, and a moose permit for non-residents through the state's lottery is $585. Eliminating the program would financially impact the state's moose research program. In summary, for the reasons I stated, I believe the program should continue like it is. I ask you to oppose LD 544. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Senator Curry.
Thank you, Chairman. My question is, what did you have to do to renovate your lodge in order to comply?
Yes, we had to add additional bedrooms. I had to add 2. I had to have a separate entrance into the bathroom, and I had to block off the kitchen where all the cooking will be done. And I think that was pretty much it. The 3-bay sink I also had to add.
Nice. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions? All right, seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Stephen Wood.
Good morning, Stillmore.
You are frozen. And now you are gone. I don't see Steve coming back at the moment.
Senator, my apologies. He's on his way back in. When the screen jumps and I'm trying to remove someone, sometimes I get someone else.
Okay.
Hello.
Apologies.
We see you now, Steve. Go ahead.
Good morning, Senator Dill, Representative Landry, members of the IFW committee. I was on the committee when we passed the lodge permits, and I think we did a very well job of coming up with it, but it needs some fine tuning today. I have been lucky enough, I own a lodge in Kingsbury, Maine, and it is licensed. I have to be inspected every year. I have to have insurance. And so when a guide says he or she should be able to put in for a lodge permit, that's not right, because they don't spend the extra money of being insured. They don't have to have their building inspected and all that stuff. So that's where we came up with the DHS license requirement for that. And I have been lucky enough to get 2 permits. I wasn't lucky this year, but I've got enough bear hunters, so I'm going to be well off this year without a moose permit. But I can tell you that that moose lodge permit the first year brought in $6,000 into Bar Harbor, because the wife of the client that came to moose hunt went to Bar Harbor and she spent $6,000 there. So it doesn't just affect the rural communities, it affects the whole state. So I would strongly support some modifications to this bill, but I believe we need the lodge permits. So I can answer any questions for you.
Are there any questions? Representative Lightfoot.
Steve, give me an example of maybe how you might, give me one example of how you might modify that hunt.
Well, I've heard some issues with guides for lodges down in southern Maine get a lodge permit, and then they do a camper or a tent hunt in northern Maine. I believe we set the standards that they had to be a licensed sporting facility, and I don't believe that is being enforced. I think that needs to be enforced. Like myself, I had 2 Zone 1 permits, and I hooked up with Mike Paquette, Alleygash Sporting Camps, and I paid him actually more for his cabin than he would actually make if he had just rented it to another hunter. So he made out and I made out, and the clients loved it. And I think it's overall doing a good job for Maine lodges.
So, I mean, doing the math here, there's quite a lot of money available to do some policing. Is that on to make sure that this is being properly?
Yes, I think it needs some policing. Yes.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? All right, seeing none, I believe the last one is Darcy Calden.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me?
I think so.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Darcy Calden. We own and operate Tim Pond Camps in Eustis. We are in opposition of LD 544. This is more than just a moose tag. It is bringing tourism dollars to more than just one particular lodge or guide. It is bringing money to the state of Maine and giving people more employment. In our first season of receiving a tag, our hunter visited our camp twice this summer prior to the hunt for their preseason scouting. He stayed a week each time, brought someone with him each time, and hired a guide each time. Then he came a week prior to his hunt, brought someone with him, and hired a guide for that extra week. So our guide got 4 weeks of work, and we were able to keep 2 extra employees on payroll for an extra 2 weeks. Our hunter also spent over $2,000 locally, not only at a sporting goods store, but he had his meat processed and his mount done in Maine. For those that feel this is unfair, we don't see it that way. It is not taking away tags from hunters who have been putting in for permits. It's only taking 2% of non-resident tags and allowing them to purchase them to hunt in Maine instead of going someplace like Alaska or the Yukon. If a lodge is drawn, they sell the permit, pay their employees, who then spend their money. A guide gets paid. A hunter spends their money in Maine, buying food, gas, supplies, etc. We see this as a win for the state of Maine, which has had a struggling economy for the last 2 years. We ask that you please oppose LD 544. Are there a few things that we think should be changed within this? Yes, but I think that will come with time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Representative Terrio.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for testifying. What do you think would be a change that you want?
Basically, I think like to make sure like qualified lodges get the permits, and that if you get a permit that they be in the zones where your lodges are. So, you know, if you're in zone 7, get a zone 7 permit. You're in zone 1, get a zone 1 permit. Those are probably my 2 biggest things that I think.
Thank you.
Are there other questions? Yep. Representative Hepler, was that your question too? Thank you. Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Linda, is that it on this? Yep, is that it on this one?
Yes, that's all I have for testimony for this.
All right, then I will close the public hearing on LD 544, an act to eliminate moose permits for hunting lodges, and I will open up the public hearing on LD 547, an act regarding nuisance beavers. And with that, Representative Kinney.
Senator, I've been watching for Representative Kinney in the attendee list. She has not shown up. And I did send another link to her in case she couldn't find it, and I have not seen her as of yet.
All right. So let's take a quick look at this one.
I just texted her, Jim. She should be with us. She's at another committee, but
okay.
I was supposed to text her earlier and I kind of fell asleep, so sorry.
Okay. We'll give her a minute to get here.
Jim, can I make a comment about the last bill?
Sure.
I can't believe I'm even going to say that, but I really appreciated what Don Kleiner said. Oh.
Don't let Don Kleiner hear that, though.
I know it bothers me to even say that. I mean, to say that we
so very much, Representative. You've made my week.
Oh my God, it pains me to say that.
And actually, Senator, just for the record, I was looking and I see somehow I got into the neither for nor against pile, and I don't know how that happened in the electronic system.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Sometimes,
yeah,
you know, things happen.
I think I was clear enough. I just wanted to make sure I pointed that out.
And I think that's how we get out of order on who's testifying when too, because we have to go by the list and sometimes
yeah. Not a problem. I think I was clear enough, but.
You were against.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Linda, she says she's trying to get on. I don't know what's going on.
I'm not seeing her in the attendee list yet. Oh, there she is. Okay, she just got in. Sometimes it takes a few moments.
Good morning, Representative Kinney.
Good morning, Senator Dill. How are you?
I am well, and yourself? Has the
Oh,
sap
hanging in
stopped
there.
running? It's been so cold. Did the
For
sap
today it
stop?
has.
Yeah,
Yeah,
figured it probably had.
yeah, we're just now hitting double digits here.
Okay,
Just hit it, just like a couple minutes ago.
so this is LD 547. So if you'd be so kind to introduce this bill.
Be happy to. So good. We are still morning. Yeah, barely. Good morning, Senator Dill. Shoot, I apologize. I can't remember who's the representative. Landry, Representative Landry. Sorry about that. And distinguished members of the IFW committee. I am Representative Mary Ann Kinney, and I represent House District 99, which are the towns of Brooks, Burnham, Freedom, Jackson, Knox, Monroe, Thorndike, Troy, and Unity in Waldo County. And I see my senators on this committee as well. Nice to see you in sort of in person. I'm here to present LD 547, an act regarding nuisance beavers. And this was brought to me by a friend, longtime friend, farmer in Washington County, who was dealing with issues with the beavers affecting the culverts in the irrigation ponds for wild blueberries. And in speaking with Deputy Director Peabody recently, we came up with the idea that we wanted to have some kind of something to help the department still have access to who is trapping the nuisance beavers, but at a time when beaver pelts were worth over $60 a pelt, there wasn't an issue. People were gathering the beavers and selling the pelts and so forth. And today they're only worth around $5 a pelt. So people aren't as willing to trap the beavers and take them. And they are causing a nuisance in the farming community. And we have other nuisance wildlife laws on the books that allow a farmer to be able to either remove an animal or be able to hunt, kill, trap, to get rid of these animals. And beavers were accepted for a long time out of that provision. And we're looking to probably work to do something. I've had several people come to me and say they miss having beavers near them. They're not in their area, but where they are congregating, they are causing a nuisance to the farming community. And I would like to think that this committee would be able to come up with something that could compromise and work with both both types of people, so that we could get the farmer to be able to trap and remove the beaver that's causing a nuisance on their farm, while at the same time, the person who doesn't want to see them just hunted and killed and destroyed and left to rot, the opportunity to possibly have them relocated or something. But I know the department was hoping that they would still have a say in what was going on. And I know when it comes to, for example, deer on my farm, I can take out a deer or a turkey that's destroying my crops. And I would notify the department after the fact. But I don't know. Again, this is your jurisdiction at this point, and I welcome any questions at this time. And thank you for having me today.
Thank you. Representative Lightfoot.
Thank you, Senator Dill. Representative Kenny, what did the department, did you and the department come up with anything special that might lead us down that path? I know working with the Boy Scouts, we have a problem up there, and we just had a nuisance trapper come in and help us. I thought those were available in most towns, but maybe not. So, did the department have any suggestions?
We kind of went round and round. We wanted to still have the ability to have the department make the decision as to who could go in and possibly trap, which is in statute at this point. You can contact the department. What's happening in Washington County is they're having trouble getting someone to come in a timely manner, and wanting to have a little more say in being able to take it upon themselves to be able to start the trapping possibly before they get someone from IFW that can come out. So, and when it was Director Tim Peabody that I had spoken with, and kind of he said in theory, he agreed with the bill and did want to be kept in the loop. So I'm not 100% sure exactly what they have for language, and hopefully there is something that can come up with, and I'd be happy to work with the director and the department between now and the work session, of course.
Have him here at the work session then. That'd be great. Thank you.
Representative Ordway.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. I have my son has a big hayfield over in Representative Nato's district that is big problems with beaver, and we cannot in any way get a nuisance trapper over there. They're just not there, and really something has to be done. I'm in favor of working something out.
Isn't that so?
Thank you. I agree with you, Representative Ordway. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Representative Keeney. You got that.
Representative
Danny Martin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Kinney, your bill, the current law makes it a Class E crime to kill the nuisance beaver, correct? Your bill would repeal that. So are you suggesting that you want to take another approach or further communicate and confer with the department to see what might be a little better than what you're currently proposing?
Thank you, Representative Martin. I would like to remove the penalty, the crime for sure. Because this is becoming a nuisance, and as I had mentioned in my testimony, after speaking with Mr. Peabody, he mentioned just the cost of the value of the pelts have diminished so much that people just aren't trapping them, and we're just not having the issue. And but the beavers are still abundant in some areas. And I realize that there are people that like having beavers in their area and they miss having them there. And so that's why I would like to see maybe something that could possibly be a compromise between both, because as farmers, we're having some issues, and certainly wildlife ecologists and people that just like to see the wildlife in their area would like to still have them around. I mean, I know I'm very fortunate. I'm looking at your clerk's virtual background here, and that's my view out my window of my house every day. I have more than 60 bald eagles that hang out around my farm, and it's absolutely amazing. And so I understand the people that like the wildlife around them and want to be able to see the beavers. But at the same time, I'm also a farmer. I do have issues with deer and porcupine and other nuisance animals in my sugar bush that like to eat up my tubing. And so I'm fortunate. I do not have an issue with beavers where I am, but I do have water sources. I'm surprised I don't have beaver issues. We have in the past. My husband has told me about that many years ago, but currently we don't have the beaver issue. It's just a good friend of mine from Representative Alley's district that contacted me about putting in this legislation to help them out.
Thank you.
Can you train the eagles to take out the nuisance wildlife for you, Representative Kenny?
We do see a very diminished population of squirrel in my sugar bush. So I'm like, this. So I think they are, in addition to eating the fish out of the compost, they're taking out the little rodents as well.
Senator Black.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Kinney, was the Washington County complaint your only complaint? I know myself, I've had 2 complaints this last summer. One of them, we did wind up getting a nuisance trapper in there. The other one, the warden service told the person that there wasn't anything they could do. And I've noticed in the past in my own situations that the beaver tend to move around where the feed is available. I mean, if you have, and then they leave and go somewhere else. So if you don't have a problem right now, you could have a problem down the road. But I was just wondering how many complaints you'd had besides that one.
I haven't had a lot. I did notice that one of my constituents has testified, has submitted written testimony from Troy, which, as I mentioned, was one of my towns, in support of this bill. And The only other call I've had regarding this was someone that just likes the beaver and hasn't had them in his area. He had them for a little while and then they were overtrapped and he lost them again. But I agree, they do travel, and it could be an issue today. It could be an issue in Washington County. Tomorrow, it could be an issue here in Waldo County.
Representative Terrio.
Thank you, Senator. Did they give you any idea of what may be considered as a reasonable go-between? Because I don't see it. And I mean, I personally have had the beaver problem on my property, and when I called the person in to come in, they took out 31 beavers. So you think you've only got a few, and when he told me he got 31, I was just blown away. I mean, so it can be very devastating. I know it affected my property badly. So I understand it, but I don't see a really good compromise, and I'm just hoping they had something to offer you.
I'd be happy to work with the department between now and the work session to see if we could come up with a compromise that could work. Because as I've said, as a farmer, I certainly understand the concerns around nuisance wildlife. And Representative Terrio, you're not far from me either. So if you've had the issue as close as you are to me, then I can definitely see that this could be an issue down the road for a lot more of my direct constituents. And when I was speaking with the Washington County blueberry producers, the wild blueberry growers, it was in their culverts, and they've had the issue for years. So I can only imagine if they're having trouble getting someone in, they think it's one or two, maybe it's more like 50. Certainly could be as many as the 31 that you had on your land.
Are there any other questions? All right, seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Next is Colonel Scott.
Good morning, Senator Dale, Representative Landry, and members of the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Committee. I assume you can hear me with the IT issues this morning. You all good? Okay. I'm Dan Scott, Colonel for the Maine Warden Service at the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, speaking on behalf of the department in support of LD 547. Current law makes it a Class E crime to take or kill a nuisance beaver except by agents of the commissioner. This bill repeals that law within Section 12404. Additional protections for beaver have been in place for a long time. Historically, beaver pelts were of high value and sought after by many trappers and fur buyers. With the current low price for their pelts, there is less incentive to trap beaver. That said, IFW does not want the public to lose sight of a beaver's value on the landscape, with hundreds of Maine species thriving because of habitat modified by beaver. Yet we recognize that they can cause significant damage for landowners and municipalities. We are transitioning from a time when there weren't enough beaver to create wetland habitat to a time when some areas are over capacity. We seek a balance to keep the reputation of beaver as a valuable wildlife resource rather than a nuisance. We would suggest to Representative Kinney and the committee a friendly amendment to the bill to better reflect our current practices. This language would allow wardens and biologists, on behalf of the department, to give a landowner or a landowner's representative authority to take beaver causing conflicts. We believe this would provide the middle ground we are aiming for. Some suggested language might be a person may not take or kill a beaver under 12401 and 12402, but the commissioner may cause landowners or their representatives or agents of the commissioner to take nuisance beaver at any time. And failing to comply with those would still remain a Class E crime. So currently, beavers do experience some unique protections that have been in place for a long time, as Representative Kinney had noted. Under our nuisance wildlife statutes, animals found causing damage to your property can generally be dealt with by the landowner. Beavers were the exception to that, and the law required the department to use animal damage control agents or our own staff in order to address those issues. And those ADC agents, as you heard, were discussed by several folks' comments. We propose, under the language that allows an animal damage control agent to deal with the beavers, to also allow a landowner or a landowner's representative. But they would first have to check with the department, either a biologist or a game warden. There's some permitting in place that we currently do, mostly because inexperienced people setting, traps on the land haphazardly can cause an issue. And we also don't want beavers to become a reputation of just being vermin, being shot and left floating in a beaver flowage, which we see from time to time. It's not good for hunters, not good for the beavers. So we do believe we have some middle ground that we can work well with Representative Kinney and accomplish everyone's goals. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Representative Lightfoot.
Thanks, Senator Deal. Colonel, I'm in favor of this bill, in favor of your language. I'm really not in much favor of relocation, though. It seems like they're like homing pigeons. They seem to find their way back, and you just move them onto another piece of property that causes damage. So we might consider some type of language there.
Sure, we have a fairly extensive policy in place right now for relocation of beavers under our current ADC program. You are correct that relocating beavers is a difficult task. Because beavers are very mobile. Folks think that they want somebody to bring a beaver to their property and an ADC agent, so to speak, and leave it off to their flowage. Depending on that time of year, that can cause fighting amongst beavers that are already present there. And likewise, in the springtime, beavers follow water courses, and rarely do they actually stay where somebody may relocate them. So this law would just allow the landowner to work with the department to deal with the nuisance beaver on their own, whether it was lethal removal or catch and relocate. But those activities are all guided by a separate internal policy. But you are correct. There's much more to relocating the beaver than just dropping it off out of a box trap and onto somebody's flowage. The chance of it staying there, depending on feed and location of other beavers and the time of year, is minimal at best.
Thank you.
Representative Mason.
Thank you, Senator Dill. Colonel, a couple of years ago, we had an issue here in Lisbon where beavers had blocked a culvert, and it caused a lot of damage to the road, took out a lot of the road. And I had reached out to the department, and the department gave me several names of trappers that I guess, do you have certain people that you allow to do this out of season, or can anybody do it? I know when the public works director in town here called the phone numbers, I think 2 out of the 3 didn't even do it anymore. I was just curious about that.
So you're referring to our animal damage control program, which is basically a network across the state of paid contract trappers. So when a landowner or a municipality or somebody has a conflict with wildlife, they can call a licensed animal damage control agent, which is certified by the department, so they can know what kind of service are going to be provided. And that contractor basically enters into a contract with the homeowner or the municipality to be paid for their services. And we have a lot of them across the state. And like anything, they come and go with their interest to be part of the program. We have made a number of modifications recently to that program to continue to staff it with enough contractors that we can respond to the nuisance complaints that are out there. But yes, that's a typical scenario. A municipality will call up and say that a beaver has a culvert plug. We don't physically have the staff to respond to all of them and deal with a multi-day beaver issue. In 2018, we responded to just over 255 nuisance beaver complaints, over 300 in 2019, and again, about 300 in 2020. So they are fairly common to have complaints on beavers. Currently, the law that we're dealing with and Representative Kinney is referring to does require us as a department to recommend one of those animal damage control agents to deal with that issue. The amendment and the recommendation we would put in place would allow us to work with persons who are not animal damage control agents, who are either landowners or maybe a person who works for a municipality, to deal with that problem on their own. But again, it would take a little bit of vetting with the department prior to just having people go out and handle it completely on their own, just because, again, we're concerned with the manner in which the beavers are caught, or if they're moved, as Representative Lightfoot said, or killed.
Thank you very much, sir.
Senator Black.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colonel, I think you've kind of answered some of my questions in the last couple of go-arounds, but I had two instances, as I mentioned earlier. One in the vineyard last year where the beaver were flooding this lady's back lawn, and the beaver were coming up and cutting her shade trees right off her lawn, and actually worried about them falling into her barn and garage. And it took several weeks, more than several weeks, to get a permitted nuisance trapper to come in. And then they really didn't want to, because it was the middle of summer, the pelts weren't any good. And then in the other instance in Strong, the constituent of mine, they flood up in the spring and flood his whole backyard, and he called the Warden Service twice and got no results. So I'm just wondering if there's, as been mentioned with Representative Kenny, if there's some way that if the landowner themselves can be permitted or trained or whatever to do in more timely fashion and get rid of these nuisance beavers. I know there's a lot of issues that you're concerned about with, improper trapping or carcasses or whatever, but they are becoming quite a problem in a lot of areas, and they can do a lot of damage in a hurry. So I guess, I don't know if you could address that or not.
Yes, sir. I think, just to be clear, I think that this amendment addresses exactly what your concern is. Keep in mind, in the past, our staff did not have the legal authority to tell a landowner, yeah, go ahead and deal with it on your own, because the law was very clear that an agent of the commissioner needed to manage nuisance beaver problem. But that's the exact scenario that we're looking to give ourselves more flexibility, as well as the landowners. We're just looking to require some consultation with the department before a landowner just goes out and starts shooting and trapping beaver.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony, Colonel. Next is James Cody.
Good morning. Is it still morning? Afternoon, I guess. Senator Dill, Representative Landry, and members of the committee. I'm James Cody, and I'm here today neither for nor against this legislation on behalf of the Maine Trappers Association. Largely what I would like to say is that we echo many of the thoughts and suggestions that you've just heard from Colonel Scott. For a long time, at least as long as I have been around, and frankly, many folks before me, the Maine Trappers Association has always been an advocate to maintain beaver as a valued fur-bearer species, knowing that they have a higher value above and beyond what we typically consider as nuisance species, whether that's in fur markets or elsewhere. They have long been a prized species for Maine trappers traditionally. But that being said, and to sort of reflect what Representative Kinney has said, we fully understand that we're at a time where the populations are continuing to grow at this point. And we respect the need for landowners to have the ability to address those issues as nuisance problems arise. So what I would suggest is we'd obviously like to see it in writing and work with the department and other stakeholders. But I think the Maine Trappers Association is very comfortable with the idea of ensuring that landowners have some of this flexibility while at the same time protecting beavers as a valued wildlife species here in the state of Maine. With that being said, I'd be happy to answer any questions and look forward to working with folks to come to a resolution before the work session.
Whoops, Senator Black.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, James, for being here today. And I know there's probably not a beaver problem around your backyard where you live, but would you be able to, would the Trappers Association be willing to come up with lists of trappers that would be willing to do this, or is it something that you wouldn't want to get involved with? When I had those instances last summer, there was a short list of trappers to take care of nuisance, but I might have been able to reach out to other trappers if the department had allowed me to. Do you have a list, or would be the association be willing to come up with a list?
Yeah, so a couple of thoughts. Thank you, Senator. I would say that we get a lot of emails to the association email, general email address. And so when we get emails from landowners and others seek to have beaver issues resolved, our secretary actually sends those out to the entire membership and says, hey, who's available to help with this issue based on its geography in the state. So we could do that. I can get a list available. So let me work that. And then I would say, obviously, there's an ADC list available through the department as well. So we can make sure we come up with a streamlined way of getting those requests out to trappers.
Representative Lightfoot.
Thanks, Senator Dill. James, I'm a member of the Trappers Association, and I'm sitting here trying to think. I know how to trap beaver in the winter, but it'd be more challenging in the spring, summer, fall. Maybe during the work session, we could have one of the trappers come in and explain to us, what might be methods they would use, to do that with, and if the warden service would be in favor of it. Thank you.
Certainly, I'll try to have somebody available for the work session and can chat with the department in advance.
Are there other questions? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing on LD unless there's anyone else. Sorry, Linda, is there anyone else? That's all I had on my list.
No, Senator, I don't have anyone else on the list for this bill.
Okay, thank you. I will close the hearing on LD 547, an act regarding nuisance beavers, and I will open up, or actually I will turn it over to my co-chair, Representative Landry.
Thank you, Senator Dill. Welcome. I was late getting in here, so I will introduce myself. Scott Landry, I represent District 113, Farmington, New Sharon. And I know that nobody knows that Senator Black is here either. So he'd probably want to introduce himself.
Thank you, Representative Landry. I was late getting in. Both Representative Landry and I were on another committee. But I am Senator Black, representing Senate District 17, which is all of Franklin County and 4 towns in Kennebec. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now open the public hearing on LD 569, an act to prohibit hunting with a bow within 100 yards of a building or residence. And I don't have the paperwork. Linda, who is the sponsor on this?
I am.
I'm sorry, the sponsor is Representative Toole.
Oh, welcome, Representative Toole. Good to see you again this morning.
Good to see you again as well. It seems like we've been bouncing, following each other around committees today.
We have.
All right. So Senator Dill, Representative Landry, distinguished members of the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Committee. My name is Will Toole. I represent the communities of Cutler, East Machias, Lubec, Cutler, East Machias, Eastport, Cutler, there we go. Cutler, Eastport, East Machias, Lubec, Machias, Machiasport, Rook Bluff, Whiting, and Prescott Township in the 130th Maine Legislature. I'm here today to present LD 569, an act to prohibit hunting with a bow within 100 yards of a building or residence. Currently, state law prohibits most forms of hunting within 100 yards of a house or outbuilding for obvious safety reasons. On any given day, you have kids playing ball in the driveway, families grilling on the back porch, raking the lawn, or catching up on those last-minute outdoor projects before a long Maine winter sets in. And the last thing people doing all of those things expect is somebody coming onto their property and blazing away at a buck. In other words, the 100-yard setback creates the reasonable expectation of safety while respecting the tens of thousands of Mainers who hunt legally, safely, and ethically. But several years ago, the legislature changed the law to make an exception for bow hunting. We created a carve-out, which is making it even easier for dishonest, unethical hunters to exploit the law, give hunting a bad reputation, and make people feel unsafe on their own property. Why? People who have been illegally hunting close to homes with firearms, heater hunters in some cases, all along now have a loophole in the law where they can simply change weapons on the fly and get even closer into where people live legally. I submitted this bill at the request of several Machiasport residents, lifelong Mainers who respect our hunting traditions and who have historically let people hunt their land, but who have a reasonable expectation of safety in close where they and their families live. They were shocked to discover that the 100-yard setback does not apply to bow hunting and asked me to move forward with this legislation. Thankfully, I had a lot of advice from folks like Brian Smith, who serves on the IFW Advisory Council, who has a long and celebrated record of advocating for all forms of hunting and promoting youth involvement in archery and other sports. Brian also serves as a selectman in Machiasport and can give you real-life examples of how the current situation is creating real issues for residents in his community, and I would suspect other places around the state. Some have suggested that people could just post their land. While that is true, some of the same people are the loudest critics of people posting their land and limiting opportunities for people to hunt in Maine. This bill treats everybody fairly. It requires bow hunters to hunt from a safe distance while creating an exception for those who want to target practice in their own backyards. Creates an exemption for expanded archery zones during the hunt itself. Those expanded archery hunts are highly regulated by the state, done with extensive local and public involvement, and are very narrow and specific in time and scope. Also included, and you should have seen this in my testimony, I apologize if it isn't, but I've also included a copy of a recent Machias Valley News Observer article on the circumstances that have led up to this bill. I think it will be helpful, in addition to the testimonies from folks you will hear today. I realize that passing a new law is not the ideal situation, and certainly appreciate the fact that Cheryl Thibodeau from IFW reached out a couple of weeks ago, but more focus on education and enforcement are also part of the mix. But I also think those who are giving honest hunters a bad name are ruining it for everyone else. Even those of us who can barely hit a partridge in the North Maine woods with a .410. Thank you all for the opportunity to speak today. I'll do my best to answer your questions and encourage you to ask them of Mr. Smith and others who are here today as well. Thank you all.
Thank you, Representative Toole. Does anybody have any questions for Representative Toole? Seeing none, are there any other co-sponsors who would like to speak on this bill? Seeing none there, a representative from the department, Colonel Scott.
Sure, thank you. Good morning, Senator Dill, Representative Landry, and members of the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Committee. I am Dan Scott, Colonel for the Maine Warden Service at the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, speaking on behalf of the department in support of LD 569. This bill prohibits the discharge of a bow and arrow within 100 yards of a building or residential dwelling without the permission of the owner, while allowing for recreational target practice. It also provides an exception for discharging a bow and arrow within 100 yards of a dwelling in an expanded archery deer zone during an expanded archery deer hunting season created by the Commissioner of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife by rule. Deer regularly live in close proximity to residences and in some more populated areas which experience high densities of deer. Deer often become habituated to human presence and can be readily found during the daytime, browsing areas immediately around residences in the areas maintained by homeowners. In most situations, archery hunters follow a method of planning, scouting, seeking permission from landowners, and erecting a tree stand or ground blind for the purpose of harvesting a deer with a bow. In some cases, less responsible archery hunters participate in the practice of road hunting, whereas they drive around areas of higher deer populations and then proceed to stalk deer which are loitering on the lawns and in close proximity to residences, often resulting in confrontations between homeowners and hunters. Under current law, unless the homeowner has their yard posted, this activity is not prohibited. This activity has been occurring in the Down East region where Representative Toole resides, as well as in areas of southern Maine. A similar bill was passed by this committee in 2013, only to be repealed in 2014 due to concerns over target practicing, as well as hunters needing to get permission from multiple landowners in order to participate in the expanded archery hunt maintained by the department. The department is concerned that if this bill passes as written, it could have negative implications on our deer management system. In heavily populated areas, we rely on archery hunters to have access to deer in order to help control deer populations. Requiring permission from every homeowner within 100 yards of an archery hunter may result in less participation by archery hunters and therefore increased deer populations and increased conflicts between landowners and deer. In order to address the complaints at hand, while still maintaining the most flexibility for archery hunters in management of deer populations, we would suggest a friendly amendment which would require an archery hunter to obtain permission from a property owner if they plan to archery hunt on that property owner's land and in close proximity of that property owner's dwelling. So some example language: a person is prohibited from discharging a bow and arrow upon the land of another and within 100 yards of a building or residential dwelling on that land without first having permission from the owner of that building or residential dwelling. Additionally, they're prohibited from causing an arrow to pass across the land of another and within 100 yards of a building or residential dwelling on that land without the permission of the homeowner. This language would essentially offer a similar protection to homeowners as the firearms discharge law when an archery hunter is on the property of the homeowner. I would be glad to answer any questions now or during the work session. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Colonel Scott? Senator Dill.
Thank you, Representative Landry. Colonel Scott, the way you just read that last suggestion, to me, it sounded like if I wanted to hunt on your property, I would have to get permission even if I wasn't within 100 feet of your dwelling. is that what the intention is of that?
No, sir. That's,
Okay.
I'll read the first sentence to you again. A
Right.
person is prohibited from discharging a bow and arrow upon the land of another and within 100 yards of a building or residential dwelling on that land. So if you're on somebody else's land and within 100 yards of their dwelling, then you would. But if you're more than 100 yards away from their dwelling, the law would remain as it is today, and you could hunt there, provided it wasn't posted without permission.
I see you had the "and" in there, so.
The "and" is a very
So it
key word.
included both of the sentence, parts of the sentence, okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions for Colonel Scott? Seeing none, is there anybody else who wants to testify for this bill?
Yes, Steve Wood is on here for the bill.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Wood?
Good morning, Representative Landry, Senator Dill. So let me give you a little background on this bill. We did pass it in 2014. Actually, the bill that we did pass was actually to remove crossbows from that 100-yard bill, 100 yards from dwelling. And the Bow Hunters Association came out and strongly opposed that bill. So then Representative Gina Mason and myself, we turned the bill around and made it so that we added bows to that 100 yards, and it passed, and it was in effect for about year and a half or so. And I know I got a couple hundred phone calls from bow hunters complaining that that they had to get permission to hunt next to an individual's house or anything. And my opinion is that if you're going to hunt within 100 yards of someone's house, you should at least notify them that you're hunting within 100 yards of their house. So I like what the Dan Scott has proposed for amendment and stuff. So I'd like to see this go forward.
Very
and actually
good.
Add the crossbow to that same language for as Dan Scott has proposed.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Wood. Who's next, Linda?
We have Mike Look in favor.
Okay. Mr. Look?
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning,
I can hear
Chairman.
you, but I can't see you.
Actually, it's good afternoon. Sorry about that. Been 2 or 3 years since I testified in front of you. A good many of you have changed, it looks like. I kind of became aware of this issue last fall. I own a piece of land 1/2 mile from my house here, along with another guy in town. He called me and asked me to meet him out there. So I went out to End Road where the big old field is growing up, and the pavement ends, and there's no road through the field. It's just an old field, and the hooks out of sight to the left, which is one reason why there was a problem. And the field was pulverized, great deal of pulp, like 2 traffic.
Excuse me a minute, Mr. Look. Mr. Bryan, could you mute yourself, please? Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Look.
Yeah. So the grass in the field was just pulverized into the dirt from so much traffic. 2 weeks of heater hunters riding down through the field looking for a deer. So we talked it over and decided to put up a fence. So we went and bought a split rail fence, and in the hour it took to erect that fence, there were 2 different pickups with orange-hatted hunters came down, gave us an ugly look, and turned around and left. It solved the problem. We put a couple of signs up. We didn't post it. The sign we put up said, "Hunters welcome on foot." And I don't know if anybody took us up on that. I did give somebody permission on Youth Day to take their son down there hunting, but the archery crowd used to be the most ethical group of hunters, I think. They dressed in, head to toe in camo. They went out in the woods and did their thing. And you never saw them or heard of them. Now it's an army, a veritable army of heater hunters riding around in pickups looking to shoot a deer in somebody's backyard with a bow and arrow. And why it changed, I don't know. But all of a sudden, it is a problem. And I will, support what Colonel Scott said. That's very good wording on that. That should take care of the problem. If you want 2 or 3 more stories about issues we've had in town the last couple of years, I can tell you 2 or 3 more about people shooting deer in other people's dooryards with a bow and arrow. It is a safety issue. An arrow can ricochet at a much wider angle of reflection than a bullet can. A bullet will either splatter off a rock or pass through a piece of wood or a tree, where an arrow can ricochet not at 90 degrees, but certainly at a much wider angle of reflection. So it's only a matter of time before somebody's animal or house or person gets stuck with an errant arrow. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions from Mr. Look? Seeing none, we'll move on. Who's next, Linda? Do we have anyone else speaking for?
I don't
Okay.
see anyone else speaking for, but we do have 2 against, and that would be Joseph Mullen and then Robert Bryan.
Okay, why don't we go, Mr. Mullen, would you proceed, please?
Good afternoon, Chairman Landry, Chairman Dill, and honorable members of the committee. My name is Joe Mullen. I'm from Grafton, Massachusetts, and I'm the Northeastern States Assistant Manager for the Congressional Sportsmen's Foundation. I'm here to testify in opposition to LD 569. I know that the department has an amended version that it would like to see, and I won't get in the way of that amended version, but I'm here to testify regarding the bill as introduced. I've also submitted written testimony to the committee. So for right now, I would just like to touch upon some of the high-level points with my time. So by instituting a setback of 100 yards near a dwelling or building, LD 569 would effectively close off roughly 6.5 acres around that building, which from a statewide perspective poses to have ultimately a substantial effect. Any loss in access as a limitation is a limitation for sportsmen and women, something that has a significant hand in affecting hunter participation. The absence of access is often regularly cited as the primary reason that hunters provide when they're asked why they decided to stop with their pursuits. So therefore, the reduction in access that LD 569 as introduced has the real possibility of resulting in a decline in hunting participation, thereby possibly reducing conservation funding for the state. For the past 30 years, national participation in hunting has been on a general declining trend. The same can be said for Maine. Since the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife relies on those funds generated by hunting licenses sales, this decline presents an issue for the future ability of the department to carry out its mission. With this trend in mind, though, Maine did see an increase in hunter participation during the COVID-19 pandemic, reportedly having a 9% bump. With this in mind, legislation such as LD 569, I believe, would be a step in the wrong direction. Maine needs to capitalize on the public's increased interest in hunting and work towards making this participation, these new hunters, regularly purchasers of their hunting licenses. When you measure the overall impact that LD 569 would have on access, it's our opinion that concerned landowners should exercise their existing powers and post their properties rather than implementing comprehensive barrier for all of Maine's archery hunting community. While this would still result in a loss, these closures would still pale in light of the effect that LD 569 would have. Once again, I'd like to reiterate my opposition to LD 569 as introduced. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Mullen. Linda, do we have one more? Mr. Bryan speaking against?
Yes, it would be Mr. Bryan. And I believe he is here. Yes.
Mr. Bryan?
Good morning, Senator Dill, Representative Landry, and distinguished members of the committee. I appreciate your time and the work you do on the for the department and for the state of Maine and the residents thereof. I'm here, I'm nominally testifying against this bill. I wasn't actually sure exactly which category I was supposed to put myself in when I signed up. And I'm representing backcountry hunters and anglers, or a national group with chapters throughout the US and also in Canada. We're probably the fastest growing group of hunters and anglers in North America. And access and opportunity for hunting is a really critical thing for our growing membership. And we have a lot of members here in Maine who are bow hunters, and we're concerned about the impact this bill could have on that. That being said, I am very sympathetic with the concerns of ethics and issues with landowner relations that were so well stated by Representative Toole and as our members. We see that bad hunter behavior is probably one of the greatest threats to the future of hunting in Maine and throughout the US. And so we want to do everything we can to support things that would keep ethical hunting at the top and foremost part of hunting throughout the state. And we were in conversation with a meeting with Fish and Wildlife representatives and some other organizations a couple of weeks ago. And they Colonel Scott had suggested possible language that he went through this morning to address the issues of the bill requiring landowner permission within 100 yards if you're hunting on that landowner's property. And we would support that change very much. So nominally, we are against the bill as written, but we strongly support the language submitted by Colonel Scott on behalf of the department. I'm here for any questions if you'd like to ask.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bryan. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Bryan? No questions. Linda, do we have anybody else in the queue?
Not for 569. That is everybody that I have on the list for 569. I wonder if I can mention at this point, though, if we could bring in someone from a previous bill who I didn't realize was in the waiting room.
Okay, let's close this hearing first, and then we'll go right to that. With that, we will close the public hearing on LD 569, and we'll backtrack and reopen 547 to hear from somebody, from Julianne Smith, who we lost in the waiting room.
Yes.
Julianne?
Good afternoon. My apologies. There's a delay when I get transferred over from the room, and then I can't hear you. So I'm sorry about that. Good afternoon, and thank you, Representative Landry and Senator Dill and members of the committee for allowing me to testify. I know we've had a lot of technical difficulties this morning, so I appreciate your time. My name is Julianne Smith, and I am the Executive Director of the Maine Farm Bureau Association, the state's largest farmer-run advocacy organization. We've represented the voice of all agriculture in Maine since 1951, and I am grateful to have the opportunity to serve as the voice of our farmers today. As farmers, we are deeply concerned and mindful of how we interact with wildlife. Maintaining the delicate balance between food production and a healthy habitat for all living creatures is of utmost concern to us. Beavers have created a perpetual problem for farmers. Many farms have irrigation ponds that are critical to the production of crops. Beavers infest these ponds and build dams, causing thousands of dollars in remediation costs, and if not addressed quickly enough, substantial crop loss. Even on farms without an irrigation pond, the blockage of an upstream water source by a beaver dam can have a detrimental impact. Beavers also build dams and ditches, often resulting in flooding that prevents farmers from accessing their fields. By legal definition, beaver dams are a nuisance, but to the farmers, they destroy the crops that feed our neighbors. As the beaver industry has decreased over the last several decades, the beaver population has rebounded from the days of unregulated trapping. Beavers are now abundant in many areas of Maine. In the early 1990s, the number of beavers currently in Maine was close to or at the maximum supportable population statewide. The threat to the beaver population is now marginal, and the need for prior approval for lethal control of a nuisance beaver is not necessary, in the same way it is not necessary for deer. To that point, I know there was a lot of discussion during the hearing that a simple solution to this is to treat beavers in the same way that deer are treated, to allow farmers to deal with nuisance beavers in the same way that nuisance deer are dealt with. When they are on land causing a problem, they can be taken care of by the farmer, so long as the farmer reports that to IFW. I think that is a simple solution to this problem, so that there aren't the time lapse issues that are happening now in getting those permits to control the beaver. So we respectfully urge you to support LD 547 to help the farmers of Maine protect their crops and land to continue feeding the people of Maine. I, again, thank you for your time and would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Anyone have any questions for Ms. Smith? Seeing none, we will record that testimony and move on to our next bill, which is LD 626, an act to clarify temporary mooring privileges for moorings on inland waters. And with that, I would like to hear from the sponsor, Representative Stearns.
Thank you very much, Representative Landry. And before I begin, I have to tell the committee how upset I am that I can't be there in person, because I spent well over $100 in for candy, all types of goodies. And now I'm going to have to give that to a local charity. So I'm really, really upset by that. But I'm sure you'll do okay anyway. Will
we see a press release of you distributing that?
No, I don't believe you will. I believe that Ms. LaCroix, the clerk, forwarded a picture of a floating house to the committee, which was really the genesis of this bill being submitted. So I'll go ahead and read the testimony and then give a little bit more background for the committee, if I might. Senator Dill, Representative Landry, and distinguished members of the Joint Committee on Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. I'm Paul Stearns, and I represent House District 119 in Piscataquis County, and I'm pleased to present to you LD 626. Maine's waterways are an invaluable resource shared by all. What happens when one person's actions impede upon the ability of another person to reasonably enjoy and utilize the same resource? Consider this example. A couple purchases a cottage with prime frontage on a lake. One day they go onto their deck and find that someone has moored a 30-foot by 40-foot structure directly in front of their cottage, only 20 feet from the shore. The floating building is not a boat, and it's not considered real estate. It is simply there. The owner of the floating structure claims the right to enjoy the water. The property owner, paying high property taxes based on shore frontage, is very unhappy. At that point, it's game on. But what recourse does the property owner have? Who do they turn to? What agencies have oversight? The answers to those questions are only a small part of this complex issue, one that extends into many areas of law crossing many departments of government. For that reason, I recommend to the committee that the original language of LD 626 be replaced with an amendment tasking the Department of IFW and the Conservation Department, particularly the Bureau of Public Lands, to gather the information necessary for the committee to make an informed decision on how to move forward and report that back to the committee early in 2022. I'll gladly do my best to answer any questions that the committee may have. And I can tell you that early on in his research on behalf of the department to find out where this bill might be going, Deputy Commissioner Peabody reached out to me to ask me a few questions. And in our conversation, he let me know that this really was a far-reaching piece, again, that crossed many areas of law, and much more complex than what the original bill was. So I really want to commend Deputy Commissioner Peabody, members of the department, members of the Department of Conservation for their initial work on this. And that's all I have.
That's going to be plenty. Thank you, Representative Stearns. Do we have any co-sponsors in the queue? Linda?
No, we do not. Representative Fay was going to testify, but she had some places she had to go. So she said her written testimony will suffice.
Mr. Chair, I believe Representative Hepler has a question.
Pardon? Representative Martin? Oh, Representative Hepler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Martin. So Representative Stearns, I don't know if you can answer this question, but are mooring rules different from, say, if the same boat came and anchored there?
Thank you for the question, Representative Hepler. I think you've uncovered just a small part of the trouble with the bill. Mooring rules are different from town to town. Some folks have a harbor master. Some areas are saltwater. Some areas are in the unorganized territories. It certainly would be my intent to not disallow someone from temporarily anchoring their boat to enjoy the water, but it becomes a whole new ball game when they park in front of a beautiful piece of real estate in the early spring and then pull out, or maybe leave it all winter long. The example that I sent forward looked to me like a rather permanent structure. So I don't know if I answered your question or not, but that was a feeble attempt at it.
No, that was good. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? A representative from the department to speak on it?
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Oh, certainly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Stern, I suspect you'll be hearing from the department that this is an ongoing issue, a very complicated issue. Were you suggesting that your bill be carried forward pending this study that you're proposing, or are you asking for not to pass on your particular piece of legislation?
Thank you for the question, Representative Martin. I'm suggesting that it be carried forward, that it be changed to the amendment, which would require a study, and it would also require a report back with the ability to report out a bill should the committee choose to do so at that time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any input from the department on that, or any action?
Good afternoon, Representative Landry, Senator Dill, and members of the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Committee. I'm Tim Peabody, Deputy Commissioner at the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, speaking on behalf of the department, neither for nor against LD 626. We've been in communication with the bill sponsor, Representative Stearns, for background on the bill, as well as staff at Agricultural Conservation Submerged Lands Program, trying to determine the best approach to addressing the concerns associated with this bill. Representative Stearns explained that the focus is really related to floating camps, as he described a situation on Moosehead Lake, where a floating camp is rented out to the public, moored near a shoreline in front of a home. This is not a new issue. IFW and Agricultural Conservation have dealt with several scenarios similar to this on Rangeley, Sebago, Long Lake, and Androscoggin Lake, just to name a few. This is a cross-jurisdictional issue that impacts both DACF and IFW's authority, as well as municipal ordinances in some situations. There are multiple points of discussion and issues to contemplate, such as static floating homes or camps are connected to moorings displaced water surface area on great ponds that are held in the public trust for citizens to have free access to navigate, fish, and fowl. Having no way to stop or minimize the number of these structures that are moored in a water safety zone could and does in some cases greatly impact navigation for commercial and recreational boating activity. The Submerged Land Program housed within DACF has rules that prohibit non-water dependent uses, such as floating houses or camps, but doesn't have a mechanism to enforce them. Having structures such as the one described often creates issues of waste disposal, lack of maintenance, and subsequent materials settling to the bottom of the lake. Often the owner doesn't have the means to take care of it, and work to recover materials falls on a state agency or municipality to clean it up. Both IFW and ACF agree this issue needs to be addressed. We're fully supportive of the discussion. Due to the complexities mentioned, we'd ask the committee to consider allowing the departments to work together and identify all sections of law that may be affected by this issue and perhaps propose a solution. And I will, before I end, I did speak with Maine Municipal on Friday, and I think they're going to testify, but they also have a lot of interest in the outcome of this, and we're certainly willing to work with them. So, take any questions from the committee. If you want to stump the deputy commissioner on stuff, this is a good one to do it on because it's pretty complex.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any questions for the deputy commissioner?
I do, Representative Landry.
Yes, Representative Ordway.
Could somewhere in this negotiations or study, we come up with something simple as size limits? We do it on our roads, or size limits with permits, or some way to control the size of these things. I'm looking for simplicity.
Yeah, we certainly can have this information for the work session. I believe there are size limits attached to different floating structures on the water right now. I will tell the committee that John Knoll from Agriculture and Conservation was going to monitor this hearing. And if you had specific questions and you wanted to bring him in, if he's out there, he'd probably come in, or we can just say we'll have him there for work session. But I believe what you mentioned, Representative Ordway, there are already some pieces of that already in place.
Thank you. Any more questions for the commissioner? Seeing none. Linda, do we have...
Representative Stern has his hand raised.
Okay. I can't see the hands being raised. Pardon me for missing all of these. I don't know what's going on. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for allowing me to speak on that. And in response to Representative Ordway's question on that, he mentioned a study. I would put forth the notion that this is even preliminary to a study. What we're tasking the departments to do is to frame the problem, touch on all pieces of law that it might affect, and then it may evolve into some type of a study. So this is even, It's not a study, it's more of defining the problem is what this bill seeks to do.
Thank you. Commissioner, what kind of time frame would we be looking for?
It's up to the committee. I think Representative Stearns, I can't speak for him, but I think he wanted perhaps some activity for next session as far as any bills. I think the committee needs to discuss the timeline. We'll react to whatever you give us for an assignment.
Thank you. Is there anybody speaking in favor of the bill?
You got more people with questions.
Yeah. Who do we have?
I believe Senator Curry was next. And then
Go ahead.
Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Deputy Commissioner, and I apologize if I missed this, is part of the issue that's making it so complex is what if the owner themselves, the property owner themselves, wants to put their mooring there and their boat out there, and how to I would hate to have to prevent that. Is that part of the complexity of when the property owner also wants to have that there?
Yeah, if you read the law on moorings, it depends on whether the town has a harbor master. If you call up the municipality, and in some cases as an organized territory, the county commissioners, and ask, is there any mooring ordinance? They say no, and so you can put your boat mooring out within the water safety zone, which is 200 feet in front of your camp. So there's a complexity right there. Does the town or anyone that has oversight over the territory have a mooring ordinance? Then, what is a mooring? Is it just when you put an anchor over the side on four corners? Is that a mooring? What size is the swim float that you're putting out there? You're swimming off. If I put a tent on a swim float, if I put an outboard motor on my swim float, is it now a boat that I have to register? What is a watercraft? I found 3 definitions this morning of watercraft. That's the complexity we're looking at. You can get a 20 by 40 house and put a motor on it and register it. Is that a boat? I mean, I'm just describing some of the complexity.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Deputy Commissioner, Representative Ordway mentioned size. There's some stuff on the books. Is there anything on the books like it has to be moved every so many days, or a time frame on when a floating structure like that would have to be moved? Is there anything like that?
That's a good question. I actually was looking at a town ordinance this morning that did have just exactly that you could have temporary mooring if you wanted to anchor a boat inside of a mooring area in a particular town. You could keep it there for 24 hours. But yes, that's another, you're uncovering all the complexities and aspects of this conversation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions? That looks like it's cleared up there. Did we have someone speaking in favor, Linda?
That's everybody that I have on the list in favor. Next, we have against Rebecca Graham.
Okay, thank you. Rebecca Graham, would you jump in?
Thank you, Representative Landry and distinguished members of the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Committee. My name is Rebecca Graham, and I am representing Maine Municipal and have been directed to oppose the bill language as originally drafted by our 70-member Legislative Policy Committee meeting. However, after our conversations with the department and understanding the solution that Representative Stearns was actually looking to deal with. We would like to be able to work with the department to find a solution for those issues that won't create additional burdens on communities, which would significantly be impacted if the original bill language did go through. So most of our issues were with the original language, and we recognize that there's an issue and would like the opportunity to work with all the departments that intersect with the municipal interests in this matter as well going forward.
Thank you, Ms. Graham. Any questions for her? Seeing none, I guess we can close the public hearing on LD 626 and move into a
Representative?
we can't do that. Mr. Jellison, is it?
Yes, there's Dale Jellison is for neither for or against.
Okay.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The scope of my issue goes far beyond what LD 626 contains. In my written testimony, I related an issue that happened here at Green Lake last year, where we had a non-motorized boat moor at various locations in the lake that did not have sanitary facilities or any waste capabilities on it. We, in our research, discovered that there might be a regulation that prohibits a motorized vehicle from being used as a houseboat or overnight accommodations unless the lake had a marina that had the facilities to handle solid waste. That pretty much tied our hands because this boat, if you want to call it that, or structure, a pontoon boat, did not have a motor. It was basically towed into place and docked wherever it wanted, sometimes within the 200-foot zone, sometimes without. But we did not see any way of preventing that from happening. The Green Lake Association, of which I'm a member of the board of directors, contacted Sherm Hutchins and Nicole Grahowski, both Dedham and Ellsworth representatives, to try to get something passed. I was in hopes that LD 626 could address that issue somehow so that we do not have a structure moored on the lake without sanitary facilities. And sometimes it's only a weekend that they're staying, sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's 2 people, sometimes it's 5 people. Does LD 26 propose to help us with that? Thank you.
Thank you. That looks to be part of the big question that we're going to have to work over. And is there anybody else I'm missing here? Linda?
Not for testimony, but there are 2 people with questions, Representative Mason and Representative Martin, Danny Martin.
Representative Mason?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, my hand was up and from the last time, I just put it down.
Okay. Representative Danny Martin?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, the sponsor of the piece of legislation suggested that during a work session, we could carry this forward, have the department work with the respective parties, and come back to us in January or February of next year. With that in mind, Mr. Chair, would you entertain a motion to move ourselves into a work session and dispose of this in this friendly manner?
Sounds like a very good plan. Thank you.
With that in mind, Mr. Chair, I would move that regarding LD 626, we move into a work session.
I'll second that.
Second by Representative Terrio. All in favor? Show of hands. Opposed? Okay, well, let's move right into the work session on LD 626. An act to clarify temporary mooring privileges for the moorings on inland waters.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I would move that in regards to LD 626, we carry that bill forward to the next regular session in forthcoming year. Have the department work with respective parties and report back to this committee with their findings.
Thank you. Do I see a second?
I'll second that, but I'd like to make it February, since we've asked them to do quite a bit in January already.
February would be fine, Representative Terrio.
Very good. Thank you. All in favor, raise a show of hands.
We might,
do we need a roll
Mr. Chair, we might have to vote and have Linda call the roll on this one.
Okay.
All right, if we're ready, then in favor of the motion, Representative Lyford,
Yes.
Representative Mason,
Yes.
Representative Hepler,
Yes.
Senator Curry,
Yes.
Senator Black,
Yes.
Senator Dill has left us. Representative Landry,
Yes.
Representative Terrio,
Yes.
Representative Danny Martin,
Yes.
Representative Ordway,
Yes.
Representative Ali,
Yes.
Representative Nadu,
Yes.
and Representative John Martin. Oh, is he not with us? Okay, so then that would make it 11 in favor, 2 absent.
Very good. Thank you. That will close the work session on LD 626.
Can I just ask a question, please?
Certainly.
Yeah, I know the sponsor of the bill had asked to turn the bill into a resolve directing the department to do it, and you're carrying the bill over. I'm assuming you would want a letter to the department essentially doing what he was thinking to do through a resolve, which would ask the department to do those things and come back in February.
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, do we want to move right into the next work session or take a minute?
Let's keep going.
Might as well keep going.
Keep going, please.
Okay, this looks like a simple one, isn't it? Bear baiting? No, or bear permits? I can't even.
It's Commissioner.
What's this? Open the work session on LD 142. An act to give the Commissioner of Inland Fishery and Wildlife rulemaking authority to establish a bear season framework and bag limits.
If I may, I think we're reopening the session here as the committee voted last time we had the bill before the committee ought to pass as amended. The decision to vote ought to pass as amended was because due to the changes in the bill, we anticipated a fiscal note, which we have since received. And I have it here. I can share with the committee. It's also on the legislature's webpage with all the other pieces of information related to the bill, but I can share it here. I believe that the department is also here. I would like to speak to the fiscal note that I'm bringing back to you. So I'll go ahead and share the screen now, just so everyone can see the fiscal note that we did not have at the time of the work session, but has since been generated.
Thank you, Rachel.
It does say, you should see here, it does say preliminary, but this is also what the actual fiscal note reads as well. I didn't make a copy when I was in the office of the actual one, but it is the same. A digital copy, I should say. The fiscal impact here, if you recall, as it says down here in the description, the fee charged for resident bear hunting permit was $27, and it's being decreased through LD 142 to a fee of $10. And as a result of that, using approximate numbers given by the department of 1,815 annually, using these numbers as the increase to what is issued, to offset the cost, there's still a net difference in a revenue loss of $60,543 annually, which would start in the fiscal year 21-22. So that's what we're seeing here is a net loss of $60,543. So I'm bringing the fiscal note back to the committee so that given these new numbers, if the committee would like to reconsider any portion of the bill, they are able to do that now.
Thank you, Rachel. Yes, Representative Ordway.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion ought to pass as amended.
The motion ought to pass as amended. Representative Lightfoot.
Before I would second that, I'd like to ask a question, if I may.
Certainly.
Who recommended the change in the fee? Was it the department or us?
The recommendation came through the original bill, so by the department. It was written down in the original draft. We made no changes to the bill as it was submitted. The committee made no changes.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just a point of order. There's a motion on the floor. Representative Ordway can either withdraw it, or we need to second it to move forward before we can have a discussion on anything.
Very good. Do we have a second on that motion?
I'll second that, Representative Landry, so we can have our discussion.
Thank you. It's been seconded. Do we need a roll call? We have discussion. Let's
have some discussion.
We need discussion. Commissioner?
Thank you, Representative, and members of the committee. I'm Judy Camuso, Commissioner of Fish and Wildlife. Could I just get clarification on what the amendment is? I thought I just heard Rachel's overview of the fiscal note, but I didn't hear a proposed amendment.
Do you have that, Rachel?
Oh, actually, I have the same question. We've already voted on it as ought to pass as amended, with the amendment being the anticipated fiscal note. And then once the fiscal note was generated, I have brought it back to the committee to view. And my understanding of the process is that at this point, if that number is different than what others, or than what you were anticipating or expected, the committee has the opportunity to, if they so desire, reconsider. My job is to bring the fiscal note back.
Okay, thank you. Representative Theriault.
Thank you, Chair. All right, so what we need to do is resurrect 10 and put this fiscal note on that, and then run 142 through with all the language so that it passes, and then no fiscal note will interrupt the language that we want to be passed. So we need to reconsider LD 10, put this fiscal note onto that bill, and then we're going to change the whole dynamic. But other than LD 142 passes as we passed it out of committee, what we need to do is reconsider LD 10, take the fiscal note and put it onto that bill, if that makes sense. I believe that'll help the department.
Does that make sense to you, Commissioner?
Yes, we were hopeful that the bill could be reconsidered and decoupled to separate the fiscal note so that we did not risk the bill failing because of the fiscal note is higher than we anticipated. So we would be pleased if that could be accomplished.
So if I may, the committee can vote to reconsider LD 142. We can amend LD 142 to strike out the section of the bill that's related to the reduction in fees, which is generating the fiscal note. And the committee can vote again on LD 142 in its newly amended form, removing that portion. And then if the committee desires, I heard mention of LD 10, which was also about bear. The committee voted not to pass on that, but the bill has not been reported out. I believe it's in the committee's powers to vote to reconsider LD 10 and to strike the language of LD 10 and to put the section of LD 142 related to the fees as the amended version of LD 10, which the committee could then vote on in its amended form.
Sounds pretty simple.
I hope I explained that well and correctly.
Okay, Representative Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that we reconsider our action whereby we voted on LD 142.
I'd second that.
Seconded by Representative Lyford. Do we need a roll call on that? Representative Martin?
Well, it's totally up to the chair.
Chair, well then.
A show of hands. Fine.
Yeah, that me. Show of hands. And as for the amendment?
The motion, Mr. Chair, would be as presented by our analyst, Ms. Olson.
Okay, thank you.
You want to repeat that motion, Rachel, or?
Oh, absolutely. And let me, I'm just also, I'm opening it. I'm gonna, just so everyone can see what it is I'm referring to. Okay, so on the screen in front of you, you have LD 142. The portion of the bill that is generating the fiscal note is section 3 right here. That is the reduction of the fee from 27 to 10 for residents. So from conversations that I've had with community members and what I've heard you say, we would strike section 3 from the bill from LD 142. And that would be the amendment to LD 142. So in dealing just with this bill, we would strike section 3. And I believe that that would alleviate the issue with the costs of LD 142 associated with the fiscal
note. And Mr. Chair, that would be my motion.
Right. Thank you.
I will second that.
And we have a second by Representative Terrio. And a roll call on that?
Discussion on the pending motion. I guess we don't have any.
Oh, I thought we'd done that already. Okay. Representative Lyford.
Well, yeah, I still was wondering, I have no idea if $60,000 is a substantial hit to the department and who made the recommendation to go from 27 to 10, and is it too much?
Commissioner?
Yeah, I can address that. Thank you, Representative Lyford. We had, as a result of the big game plan, one of the recommendations to try and increase permits, the number of people getting a bear permit. One of the recommendations was to reduce the fee down to make it more appealing so that more people might get permits. And we anticipated that change, that the increase in sales, permit sales, would come closer to offsetting the decrease in the individual permit fee. So we would be comfortable looking at a different reduction, maybe to $20, which would be consistent with turkey fees, and that could potentially come closer to a wash. But 60,000 is more of a financial burden than we could just absorb.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Martin.
So, Mr. Chair, the question of the commissioner, if the motion that I just made prevails, that would take care of the financial consideration impact, correct? Is that correct?
I'm not sure, Representative Martin. The motion that I was focused on was that to move all of it would move all of the financial considerations into a different bill so that all the other changes would pass. I believe if you do that, the other bill will likely not pass.
Correct. But right now we're
Right.
voting on
Yes.
142.
Yes. And those would be critical for us to move forward with.
And if the motion on 142 prevails,
right,
then we can go back and make another motion to reconsider LD 10, was it?
10.
LD 10, and we'll act on that in the future. So unless there's any more discussion, we could take a vote on the pending motion, correct?
Representative Lyford.
I agree with Representative Martin. But one more quick question is this going into effect this year?
No. Any other discussion? Before us, we are looking at taking the wording out, the fiscal wording out of 142. Then we'll go back and reconsider. We'll pass this, reconsider 10 and put it in 10.
Yes, and if I may, just to the earlier question, on LD 142, the effective date is January 1st, 2022.
With that, are we ready for a vote on this? Linda?
Yes. Representative Lyford.
Yes.
Representative Mason. Representative Mason, is he still here? Apparently
No.
not. Representative Hepler.
Yes.
Senator Curry.
Yes.
Senator Black.
Yes.
Senator Dill is gone. Representative Landry.
Yes.
Representative Terrio.
Yes.
Representative Danny Martin.
Yes.
Representative Ordway.
Yes.
Representative Ali.
Yes.
Representative Nadeau.
Yes.
And Representative John Martin.
Yes.
So again, that is 11 in favor, 2 absent.
Okay, LD 142, we'll close the work session on 142 with 11 in favor and 2 absent. And we will move to LD 10 to move the fiscal note to reconsider that. I guess we need a motion. Representative Martin?
Mr. Chair, I move that we reconsider our action regarding LD 10.
Second that.
We have a second? Okay. Rachel, do you have anything on that we should be looking at?
If the committee would like to vote on reconsidering it, I am happy to share some materials.
Oh, definitely. You've got some, don't you? Yes. Can we do that with a show of hands, or do we need a vote on reconsidering?
Probably should have a roll, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Well, then let's go ahead, Linda.
All righty. We'll start from the other end of the horseshoe this time. Representative John Martin.
Yes.
Representative Nadeau.
Yes.
Representative Ali.
Yes.
Representative Ordway.
Yes.
Representative Danny Martin.
Yes.
Representative Terrio.
Yes.
Representative Landry.
Yes.
Senator Black.
Yes.
Senator Curry.
Yes.
Representative Hepler.
Yes.
Representative Mason. Oh, he's left. And Representative Lyford.
Yes.
Okay. Again, 11 in favor, 2 absent.
Thank you. Rachel?
Yes, okay, I'm gonna share my screen.
Please.
Okay, so LD 10, which again, when the committee last worked on this, was voted ought not to pass, but it has not been reported out yet. This was an act to allow resident hunters to harvest 2 bears per bear hunting season. And I realize I think we're doing a little bit of some acrobatics here, but one of the questions that comes when sort of doing what we're doing has to do with the germaneness of adding information or striking and replacing information. So this works, if you will, as a vehicle to address the desires of the committee. And I was asked to look into that. So, and just I think if you remember back to the history, when we had the work sessions, I believe LD 10 was, LD 142 was worked on in the 129th. But wasn't able to come to a conclusion because of the premature closure of session. And so I think in legislators putting bills in to work on this session, this LD 10 was put in. I believe this represented an earlier stage of the process related to bears and bear hunting. And so the committee voted not to pass on this in favor of LD 142, which represented substantial stakeholder work that had been conducted last session. And so I believe from the committee, the desire here would be to strike the language here in LD 10 and replace it, excuse me, with oh, I just have two windows open of the fiscal note, my bad, and replace it with the section of LD 142 that was just struck, which is relating section 3, relating to the fees. So that is my understanding of where we currently stand. I'll answer questions if the committee has any.
Representative Senator Curry.
It seems like this is a, thank you, Mr. Chair. It seems like this, the title is now very off on this bill, given the change. Can we change the title as well?
Yes, the title will also be struck, and we'll keep the word bear.
Very good.
That's a good start. Representative Hepler? You're muted.
Obviously, I can't raise my hand and unmute at the same time. So Rachel, I'm confused as to what we are doing. This was voted ought not to pass last, earlier. What are we, I'm sorry, I've been trying hard to follow it, but I'm not following it.
Okay, so the committee voted ought not to pass. The bill has not been reported out. So until it's reported out, the committee has the ability to vote to reconsider anything that has not been reported out yet. And as the committee has now voted to reconsider it, you can take it up just like you had in the earlier work session to make any changes or to work on it in any similar way. Essentially, we're dividing LD 142 into two bills. There are other ways to go about doing that. Some of them require, if new legislation wanted to be proposed, you may have had to ask the presiding officers to accept sort of an after deadline version. The other way a committee could do something like it's looking to do is to find a bill the committee has that is similar in content. And to do kind of what we're doing here. And I think because LD 10 hadn't been reported out, this is the best vehicle for pursuing what the committee seems to be interested in doing at this time. Did that answer it? Like I said, I think it's a little, there's some acrobatics going on here, but it's my understanding from my superiors is this is not abnormal.
Is that as clear as mud, Representative Hepler? Representative Terrio?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also would like to say that we should amend the language to maybe go with a $20 fee instead of lowering it to $10, just to make it less impactful for the department and maybe have a better chance of passing through on its own. That's just my thought.
Commissioner?
Thank you, Representative Landry and Representative Terrio. And we anticipate if we were to go to $20, Representative Terrio, it would be closer to $7,000 to $10,000 fiscal note, which I think we would consider minimal and could certainly support that. Again, the goal of this reduction in fee is just to try and make this more appealing to more people. So I think that would meet our goals.
Thank you. Representative Lyford.
Thank you. I'd like to leave it the way it is, because I'm telling you, there's enough nuisance bear problems and bear problems up in my area that I'm hearing from constituents constantly. So I'm in favor of leaving it where it is.
Representative Danny Martin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I tend to agree with Representative Terrio. You need to understand that if there's a fiscal note on this bill, and there will be, it's going to end up in the appropriations table, and God only knows what could happen there. So if we want this enacted, I think we ought to go with what Representative Terrio suggested.
Representative Senator Curry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Does anyone know what the number would be that is results in a fiscal note that says no impact? Because we're increasing the number of permits. So would 20 still have a fiscal impact? You think 20 would still have it? Commissioner?
Yeah, we think it would be less than $10,000 or less, just because we reasonably don't expect to. It's not going to double the number of people who are likely buying permits in the first year anyway. So we expect it would be 10,000 or less.
I was just trying to get to a zero, so it didn't have to sit on the table.
Right.
Representative Ordway.
Yeah, I'm going to be in agreement that if we send a big note to appropriations in this session, I believe it's going to go nowhere, and we've done all this work for anything. So I would like to come up with a way to get this through approps.
Commissioner, was that per bear or $20 per bear?
Well, so that would be your permit fee would change from 27 to 20.
To 20.
Yes.
And you can buy two.
Similar to the turkey permit.
Thank you. Senator Curry.
Sorry, my hand was still up. So I'm just being clear. The only thing left in this bill is about the permit fee, correct? So we either don't do anything with it or we have a reduction. And if 20 is still going to have a fiscal note, then I say we pick whatever fiscal note is we want, or whatever permit fee we want. And because if they're all going to have a fiscal note, then it seems to just pick what you want and fight and hope it gets through.
Thank you. Representative Neto.
Yes, I was wondering how many out-of-state licenses do we issue? And wondering if we couldn't tap into that.
For bear?
For bear, yes.
I can ask for, I think Nate Webb is in the waiting room. We could bring him forward because I'm likely to confuse it, but I believe right now we have about 5,000 residents and 5,000 non-residents.
Wow.
Did you want to bring Nate in?
Nate is on his way in.
Nate, is that accurate?
That is correct.
Okay. And the bill, what's the fee for the non-residents?
Was it 74? Did I see 74?
That's correct.
It to 79. So $5. That would give you 25,000 if we raised it to 79. I don't think.
Representative Hepler?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Apologies if I'm the only one not understanding this. If we already passed 142, which reduced the fee back to what it normally is, and we passed this one as an ought not to pass, why are we considering this one again? I mean, are we going to put a fee back in here and consider passing this one? Because there were other changes that were made in 142, I believe, other than, you know, it was worked on. It wasn't just the fee change, right? I don't know who I'm asking that of.
I think I'm going to try again, if that's okay. Okay, so LD 142, when we first worked on it, there were no changes. It passed through committee without any amendments. It generated a fiscal note of a reduction to the department of 60,000 and change, $60,543. The department expressed concern over that number being higher than anticipated, and that number would land the entire piece of legislation on the appropriations table, which is believed in the current environment would result in it not being enacted. In order to get the other changes through the legislative process to get them enacted, the best hope is to pull the section of the bill that's generating the fiscal note out. And so the committee just voted on doing that. So it pulled out section 3 that's just about the fees. So now LD 142 is amended to be everything but that section, so that the other changes to bear hunting and to the permits will still go into effect, but the fees that are currently in statute are not impacted through LD 142. If the committee still wants to make changes to the fees related to bear permits, they have to find a new vehicle to make that change. LD 10 is the best vehicle in front of the committee at this point. Since it wasn't reported out, the committee can still work on it. And so it's been voted to be reconsidered. And I believe the committee is reconsidering striking everything out of LD 10 that's currently written there and changing the title and replacing LD 10 to now be about the fees for the bear permits. And the discussion in front of the committee now is, do they want to move forward as it was written in LD 142? Or would the committee like to consider other fees or other changes to the fees? Since we're reconsidering it, the committee can choose to make any changes they would like in that portion.
That explains, yeah. So changing the entire bill just to deal with the fees. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Rachel. Representative Terrio.
Thank you. I actually kind of like what Kathy, Representative Neto said. So maybe if some bright, really intelligent mathematician can figure this out, if we put the fee of the resident to $20, what would it take to offset the fee for a non-resident to make it balance out to a zero fiscal note? Just question. I'd love to hear that answer.
$10 would do it.
Well, I think so they're about split 50-50, residents or non-residents. So I think you could, personally, given the value that the non-residents play to our rural economy and particularly our sporting camps and bear guides, I would be very hesitant to raise their fee very much when our goal is to try and encourage more people to participate. So I would suggest no more than $5, and we could, or maybe even $3 likely, offset that cost with increased permit sales.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. I don't think it'll be that much money for the increase for the out-of-staters.
Right.
We lower the
residents by 7, and
right.
So you need to balance out. So if it's at 7,
whatever it takes to get to a zero fiscal note, I think that's a win-win.
Dr. Webb, could you just talk about the increased estimate for increased participation and what that would look like?
Sure, I'd be happy to, Commissioner. So I guess I would, point out or reiterate, as the Commissioner mentioned earlier, that really the goal with this reduction in the permit fee for residents is to increase participation in bear hunting by the residents primarily. So I think, when considering a change or potential increase to the fee for non-residents, I would encourage the committee to think about or consider the potential reduction in participation that might occur if that fee were to increase too much. And I couldn't speak to what that level might be in terms of the fee increase that might discourage participation by non-resident hunters. But another way of framing that would be to we don't want the increase in resident participation to be offset by a decrease in non-resident participation, because that would negate any increase in the harvest.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, I lost Nate in the discussion. I didn't know if it was his connection.
Yeah, I think he was just saying that he didn't want the ultimate goal is to increase harvest. And so we don't want any increase in non-resident fee to offset people coming here. So then we don't actually have any net gain in harvest.
Definitely. Representative Danny Martin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So if we stay with a $20 fee, we're looking at a financial impact of what, $7,000 to $10,000? Is that correct, Commissioner? Now, going back to 142, which is sponsored by Representative John Martin, who sits on Appropriation Committee, I think that should be a no-brainer. So going back to what Representative Terrio was suggesting, what do we do here? See, LD 10 is now alive. Short of, we need to change the title. And the only other thing that we need to determine is what dollar amount and what fee, correct?
Yes.
So, Representative Terry, you ready to make a motion?
Yeah, I am. Well, I think it would be like lower the residents to 20 and raise the out-of-staters by $2. And I think we're really close. I mean, and then we'll let John take care of it from there. I mean, that's a minimal increase of $2 for the out-of-staters. I don't think they're going to complain.
I don't see that as a problem.
Okay.
Okay, we have Don Kleiner in the waiting room want to get into this discussion. I'm sure everybody's anxious to hear from him.
Oh, I can't wait.
He's on his way in.
Thank you, Representative Landry. I'm actually pretty pleased with how the committee has worked through this. You, I think, come up with a quite workable solution. I never like to see a non-resident fee increase, but I think $2 is certainly livable, and I won't fuss about it. I'll put it that way. I also am delighted to see that you pulled out the piece that might founder LD 142, which I think is the important compromise to move forward here. Good work, committee. Thank you.
Thank you for your compliment. Representative Ordway.
I may have missed it, but did Representative Terrio's motion get a second? If
We're
not,
still
I'll second.
discussing. There's a second from Representative Neto. Representative Neto, did you want to say something or? No?
I second it.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Can I assume, Representative Terrio, that your motion also includes a change of title, language in the title?
Absolutely. Strip all the language, make a new title, and put these new fees in.
That is the motion, and do we have a second on that?
Yes, sir. I'll second the motion.
Representative Alley seconded. Any more discussion on LD 10, the unnamed bill? Nate?
Thank you, Representative Landy. I just wanted to point out or make the committee aware that I think it would be important to have an effective date of January 1, 2022 on this bill were it to move forward, to give our licensing division time to make those changes in the system and make sure that all works smoothly in time for the bear season.
I can go along with that.
Thank you, Nate.
Okay. Representative Lyford.
Thank you, Representative Landry. Question for Nate. Nate, do you think we're going to achieve what we're after here by increasing the bear harvest? Because it really, in my opinion, has gotten out of hand.
Thank you, Representative Lyford. That's a great question. I think, really the short answer is it's hard to say. We're sort of trying to predict hunter behavior with regard to permit fees. The fiscal note is based on permit sales back in the mid-2000s, prior to the increase that resulted in fees being set at the current level. So that is some real information. We do know that back at that point, resident permit sales were about 2,000 permits per year higher than they are now. There is a lot of work underway in our agency and with partner organizations to increase interest and participation in bear hunting. So we're hopeful that those efforts, coupled with a moderate decrease in the permit fee, will result in a substantial increase in harvest. But for us, this is one of those situations where I think we need to make the change and then adapt after a few years, evaluate how effective that change has been, and potentially reconsider if things haven't played out quite to the level that we had hoped.
Thank you.
Representative Hepler.
Don't roll your eyes, Representative Landry. So, so the title could be, a revised title could be something like an act regarding bear permit fees. Is that what we're going for?
Representative Terrio, you like that?
Oh, absolutely. That's all we're trying to do with this bill.
Representative Ordway.
Thank you, Representative Landry. With a smile on my face.
For change.
We'll make a suggestion that maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves, but if we wanted to increase harvest, maybe we should look at some Sunday hunting.
Oh,
You'll have your chance. Thank you for the suggestion. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, are we ready for a vote?
yes.
All those in favor of the bill, do you want to try reading that to them, Rachel?
Yeah, let me read that back just so we can all be on the same page. And I believe it was motioned by Representative Terrio, and was the second Representative Alley or Representative Nadeau? I got a little confused in there.
It could have been both.
Well, okay, Representative Alley. All right, we're going to strike the title and the bill and replace it with a title that will read something like an act regarding bear permit fees for bear hunting season. My best job of keeping most of the original title.
Yeah.
And we're going to put into that the language that came from Section 3 of 142, but that is going to now have a resident. Hold on, I'm going to read right straight from the thing. The annual fee for each permit issued is $20 for residents and $76 for non-residents. And that's a $2 increase for non-residents, so from 74 to 76. And we'll have an effective date of January 1st, 2022. Did I miss anything? Is that
That's
good?
perfect.
Okay,
That sounds
perfect.
like-
Then
Very good, thank you.
you're welcome.
With that, Linda, would you take a roll call?
I will. Starting with Representative Lyford,
Yes.
Representative Hepler,
Yes.
Senator Curry. Has he left us also? Okay.
Lost him.
Senator Black,
Yes.
Representative Landry,
Yes.
Representative Terrio,
Yes.
Representative Danny Martin,
Yes.
Representative Ordway,
Yes.
Representative Alley,
Yes.
Representative Nadu,
Yes.
and Representative John Martin.
Yes.
All right, so we have 10 in favor, 3 absent.
Very good. With that, I will close the work session on LD 10. And thank you all. Rachel?
Sorry, Representative Landry, I have LD 280 back for language review before we close today. I know it's been a long day, but if with your leave.
Go for it.
All right, so the committee remembers, I think it was just last week. It's been it was a long time. The committee voted on LD 280 regarding the snowmobiles. And we had a majority and a minority report, and I'm sorry, things went a little faster than I anticipated. So let me make sure that I can pull it up. I have both minority and majority reports to share, and I'd like to start with the majority report. I'm going to share it. Okay. So taking a look here, the committee voted on LD 280. The committee had numbers from Mike Grass from the Maine Snowmobile Association in front of them, which the majority report of the committee was to include those numbers in the changes for snowmobile registrations. So the changes here kept the change from the original bill at $55 for residents, and then made the following changes to the original LD of $74 for non-resident 3-day registrations. 119 remained the same from the LD for seasonal registrations, and $99 for 10-day non-resident registrations. So I've made those changes there. I do have a note to bring back as I was working on it. The image, the picture of the numbers that were shared from Mike Grass from MSA for the 10-day non-resident registration, the fee increase is only $24 from $75 to $99. But the allocated funds of that increase were $25, 10 to the trail fund, 10 to the capital equipment grant fund, and $5 to the IFW enforcement fund. That results in a $1 decrease in the remaining fees, or of the remaining fee, excuse me. So after these, after the deductions, these flat deductions are taken out of the registration fee, there's a remaining amount, and that remaining amount is allocated by different percentages in a different section of statute to the general fund, 18% of that leftover amount, to the trail fund, 75% of the remaining amount, and 7% to the IFW enforcement. So by making the change that we did here with only increasing it by $24, but allocating $25, there is a $1 reduction to that amount that's left over. And so when you run that $1 reduction through the remaining allocations by percentage, it results in 18 cents less going to the general fund per 10-day non-resident registration. I use the numbers I think Joe Higgins put forward. So the 10-year average for 10-day non-resident registrations, which is 1,598. If we had an 18-cent reduction, that would be $287.64 less going to the general fund as a result of registrations. So I just wanted to bring that to the committee for you to consider, as the funding is complicated as it goes through 2 different sections of statute and has these flat reductions down here taken out for the different funds, as well as these percentage reductions on what's left after you take out these sections down here. So.
And
Mr. Chair.
way to, Representative Martin, you've got a solution?
No, not a solution, but a question. So based on the majority report, Rachel, what's the financial impact?
So based on the majority report, the financial impact to the general fund is a reduction of $287.64. And that's using the 10-year average for 10-day non-resident registrations that I believe Joe Higgins, I think also might have come from Bill Swan, but had provided. So this is not an official fiscal note. That's just me running numbers.
Less than $300?
Yes. Just of note, because when the committee voted, the verbal understanding was that these values were of the increase, but of the increase itself was only $24. But of the increase, we allocated $25. So I just wanted to make the committee aware that in doing a $25 allocation of only a $24 increase, that it had an impact on the funding formula.
And if I may, Mr. Chair, is that likewise when you discuss the minority report?
Yes, that is true for both the majority and minority reports, because this section was the same, the 10-day non-resident.
And can you share with us, I guess I'd forgotten that there was a minority report on this. I thought the bill was unanimous, but I stand to be corrected. Clearly, this was a divided report. The minority report is supported by how many committee members do we know?
It was one.
One.
And the minority report, I do have it here, made a change to the seasonal non-resident registration. Otherwise, it remained the same for the other sections. So what I've described here is true for both the majority and minority reports.
For $1.
Yes, I do see some hands if I can do my best to answer.
Go for, I don't see any.
Sorry, Representative Hepler.
Oh, thank you. So can you send us a copy of that, or maybe you already have?
I have not, but I certainly can, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, let me stop sharing so I'm able to do that.
Oh, okay. Representative Terrio.
This is a question to Danny. Danny, you think we ought to change this, or is it worth it?
If I may, Mr. Chair, I don't know, $300, I don't see a problem. It would have been great if we could have had a unanimous report. That way, at least on the House floor, it would have been on the consent calendar. There would be no debate. They'd send it to appropriations. Hopefully, John Martin from Eagle Lake, who is on the appropriations committee, can make sure that for $300 that we wouldn't have an issue. Like I said, I guess I'd forgotten that there was a divided report. I guess that Representative Terrio, I guess we could ask Rachel what needed to be done to make this a zero financial impact. I'm not sure I have that answer.
Excuse me, Representative Neto.
Can I change my vote? Would that make it easier?
Mr. Chair, could I respond?
Certainly. I was hoping you would.
Yeah. What would need to happen? What would need to happen? Thank you very much, Representative Neto. Yes, I would make it a lot easier. But what we would need to do is move reconsideration on LD 280, and then you'd have an opportunity. If that prevails, you'd have an opportunity to change your vote.
Can I make that motion? Can I make that motion?
If I may, Mr. Chair, to move reconsideration? That would be great.
Yes.
Oh.
Representative Nato? Oh. We've got everybody waving their hands here. Representative Ordway, jump in.
I don't believe that Rep. Nato can make that motion as she was not on the prevailing side.
You are
I would
absolutely,
make the motion.
you're absolutely correct.
Okay,
I
so
I would make the motion to reconsider.
thank you, Representative Ordway. Representative Lyford,
I will
Do you,
second that motion. Then now you can talk about it.
seconded. Okay, it's been Lester Ordway. Representative Ordway made the motion. Representative Lyford seconded it. Discussion?
I think second, Representative Terrios seconded. I just had a couple of comments on that. Do you think we should wait till Wednesday when we have more of the full committee aboard on this thing? I guess that probably was a question for Representative Martin.
It all depends what Representative Ordway wants to do.
We'll be all right.
Yeah, we got a quorum.
Yeah, we're all set.
If I may,
Yes.
they all voted in favor. I don't think this would change their vote. Representative Lyford, I think we'll be okay doing it.
Good point.
Okay, yeah. Any other discussion? Representative Martin?
No, I guess all we need to do is take a roll on the pending motion to reconsider.
That sounds like a good idea. Linda? You're muted?
So we're doing a roll call on the reconsideration.
Yes.
Okay, let's start from the bottom. Representative John Martin.
We lost him.
Oh, he's gone. Oh, okay. Representative Nadeau.
Yes.
Representative Ali.
Yes.
Representative Ordway.
Yes.
Representative Danny Martin.
Yes.
Representative Terrio.
Yes.
Representative Landry.
Yes.
Senator Black.
Yes.
Representative Hepler.
Yes.
And Representative Lyford.
Yes.
So we have 10 in favor, 3 absent to reconsider.
Okay. 10 with 3 absent. We reconsidered the bill. Representative Terrio.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we pass the bill as amended.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we've got plenty of seconds. Representative Ordway. Are you all set with that, Rachel?
No. What would the amendment be that you guys would like?
Yeah.
The majority report.
The majority report, both reports, in fact, had this difference in between the fee increase and the amount allocated.
Were we going to change $1?
I wasn't gonna. I was just gonna go with a majority report under the hammer and let John Martin worry about it in appropriations.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
Okay. Representative Ordway?
Yeah, I agree to that. Yeah, we just want to make this so that it'll go under the hammer and we'll deal with the $300 in approach. So I think we'll be fine.
So Mr. Chair, if I may, so Representative Terrio, your motion is move the majority report, correct?
That's correct.
It's not as amended. There's no amendment to that, correct?
Yeah, it was amended, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, but
I don't know, where are we, Rachel?
I believe what Representative Martin is trying to get at is if you're moving the majority report is already amended. So
Correct.
You're not amending the amendment.
Correct.
You're just moving the report that's been presented.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I was trying to say.
Sorry.
Commissioner?
Thank you, Representative. Could I just ask that we bring Bill Swan in? I think the department has just some concerns about the implementation date of this particular bill. So if we could bring Bill Swan in to address those concerns.
He's on his
Certainly.
way.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So I know this is very difficult for everybody. You guys are square on the fee increase now, correct?
Yes.
Well, we haven't voted yet, but what's your issue, Bill?
Okay, so it really, I just want people to be aware of the timing of this is somewhat problematic. And so just hear me through. We start registering snowmobiles for next winter on June 1st, okay? So if you think about it, this bill would become effective like probably around the end of September, okay? 90 days after the end of session. So what you'll have is you'll have a period where the fee will be one thing, in the summer, and then it will move to the upgraded fee at the end of September. So I just wanted people to be aware that this is a little bit different than what normally happens. Matter of fact, it's a lot different. We typically don't change fees in the middle of a thing, middle of a season, if you will.
Early bird discount?
What are you recommending, Bill?
I'm not recommending anything because I don't think there's a good solution. Because your solution would be to make it emergency, and you probably won't get the votes for that. And then if you made it effective a year from now, you'll miss a whole year of additional revenues. So it's a problematic situation that we normally, I don't remember of us ever running into it because we usually are kind of ahead of the game enough to make it all work out good.
Representative Ordway?
Yes, thank you, Representative Landry. I thought, and maybe this is for Rachel, I thought in the bill we did address some dates. Maybe not. I'm an old man, I forget things, but I thought we addressed the dates in the bill.
I did, the original bill, LD does not, and I had no notes regarding an effective date for this amendment.
Representative Taylor?
It is compact as possible, but still take a magazine, right? Plus,
That's Peter. Yeah, okay, it's not the first time I've been wrong.
Representative Terrio?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, I'm just kicking this around because I spoke with MSA and they were interested in having an early registration discount. This would be almost a self-induced, I mean, it would actually take care of itself as saying, if you want to register your sled early, you will get a discount. And they had talked about that maybe in a bill next year. So that was if we were going to go up a lot more with the cost. But I mean, so I don't know that it would, be a huge heartache other than implementation by you guys. I don't want you guys to have undue, complications in how you register snowmobiles. If you can manage to get the two different stickers to make that work, I don't see that that's going to be a big deal other than and most people don't register their snowmobiles till December or January anyway. So, I mean, I think it's going to be a moot point.
Bill?
The stickers will be the same no matter what we do. And what we would do with this is that we would have to time our distribution of stickers to agents, to town offices and all. We would not distribute to them. We would distribute so that they would not have them before the new fee had come in. So the only way you could register this summer, all right, if you will, would be online or at our office here in Augusta. Okay, and that's typical anyway. We typically distribute in September to town offices for snowmobile stickers. So that would just be the way we'd have to handle it, because the towns would not be able to handle 2 different fees. You know, if you think about that, that would mess them up. They got a million other things to worry about besides snowmobile registration. So they just wouldn't have to deal with it. They'd be selling at the new fee.
And that will take care of the problem, right? I mean, basically.
It will. I just wanted you folks to know that, I mean, let's just pretend that everyone goes crazy and they say, you know, that word gets on the street, oh, if you register your snowmobile now, you're going to get a break. So a bunch more people might do that just because they know.
No, I get it.
Yep. Representative Ordway.
Yeah, to Representative Terry, some of us wait to register our sled till the week before it hits 60 degrees. So I got around the house once.
Yeah. Any other discussion? Anything else, Rachel? Representative Hepler, I didn't see you up there in the corner.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I think Bill Swan answered my question. I was concerned about the burden on town clerks. But what town clerks could say, I suppose, is that if you want to take advantage of a lower fee, you can register online. Is that right?
Yes, that would be true. And they would know, the town clerks would know that they would be able to register machines starting probably around beginning of October, which is typical anyway. That's typically when they can start to register them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Representative Martin.
Just very briefly, look, folks, Bill Swan has been doing this for many, many years. He'll figure it out. Problem solved. I think we're all set.
You feel comfortable with that, Bill?
Yeah, I'm good. I just wanted this committee to know, you know, the reality of what was going to happen. We're going to have a split of fee increase this coming year, the way it's heading right now.
So let's not try to calculate the fiscal note on that, please. Anything else? I forgot where we are. What do we have to move this? Representative Terrio. I can't hear you.
We need to vote.
You need to vote. Representative Martin.
Well, you're right, Mr. Representative. The motion's been made. It's been seconded. We've had discussion, and the motion is to move the majority report, and hopefully we'll have a unanimous report on this one.
Yes. Linda, before anything changes, would you take the vote?
I'm on it. Representative Lyford.
Yes.
Representative Hepler.
Yes.
Senator Black.
Yes.
Representative Landry.
Yes.
Representative Terrio.
Yes.
Representative Danny Martin.
Yes.
Representative Ordway.
Yes.
Representative Alley.
Yes.
Representative Nadeau. I'm sorry, you muted, ma'am.
You're muted. She said,
Yeah.
she said,
Okay, wonderful. So we have 9 in favor and 4 absent.
very good. Well, thank you very much. And what was that LDE number? I didn't even write it down.
LD 280.
280.
All right, so
is passed with a vote of 9 in favor, 4 absent.
all right, so I'll just note, since the committee is now reconsidered and voted to move the majority report, that the report that I have emailed to you is the majority report, and that constitutes your language review. So I will be moving it up the chain.
Thank you. Anything else for us, Rachel?
I believe I am finished for today. I'll remind everybody for John Clark that I believe you're doing budget on Wednesday. And I believe that Mr. Clark mailed out budget materials to your homes. I don't know if you've received them yet, but if you haven't, keep an eye out for them. They're also available online.
Thank you, Rachel. Representative Ordway.
Yeah, just a sincere thanks to Rep. NATO for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thank you. I just wanted to thank Representative Nato as well. And I want to thank you, House Chair Landry. You did an outstanding job, and there are some interesting and difficult discussions.
How do we get these good ones after Jim leaves anyway? Thank you, Representative Neto. Thank you all for bearing with us. Thank you, Commissioner. Linda, is there a motion out there to?
Let's get out of here.
Yeah, a second.
Second. Representative Neto, all in favor? Enjoy this nice warm day.
I'm heading north.
Oh, God.
Stopping the live stream. Phew.
Oh.
Can we not have another one like that?
Is it just me, or do I always get these sticky wickets?
It seems to fall that way, but I'm sure it's not really your karma.
Thank God for Dan.
Just so you know, we're still the audio is still on the website. So
yes.
Okay, I'm done if you are. And
one question for you.
Sure.
In the public hearing, I couldn't see any hands, but in the work session, I could.
I think what happened was things were happening so crazy and fast that I didn't make you a co-host right away. And then as I had a few minutes to go through and look, I said, oh, okay, so I made you a co-host. And then I noticed you were starting to see the hands. So I apologize. This has been a wild day. And, I'll make sure I get everybody. Usually I do. Usually everybody, I'm co-hosting them as soon as you're coming in. But boy, it was crazy. And there were a lot of people in that attendee room today, too.
Yeah,
So,
it was a long day and we got a lot done, but it makes me feel dumb and dumber every time I get it's just so complicated.
Yeah. It was just one of those days. I mean, from the technical, difficulties right from the get-go, and people, signed on at the very last minute, which confused things too. So it is what it is. But I think we're doing okay despite all that.
I've been in these things since 8:30 this morning.
Yeah. Jeez. I know. Well, it's time to take a good long break and have lunch.
I will. Thank you.
You're welcome. You have a good one.